a blanket over that damn crate.
This episode is brought to you by Crating.
I'm
All right.
myself.
We are live. So, hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans, it's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just 3D nerdy veterans, and we're all here this time, geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. The podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we've got the wine, we've got the smokes, we've got the dip. We're good to go. So, Doc, did I tell you what happened since the last time you were on the show?
No.
One of our listeners who asked to remain
added another person who's a nerdy vet.
This is true. So there was one of our listeners reached out and requested to remain anonymous. Said apparently every time that I mess up solo and I say it's the sci-fi shenanigans, I owe you $1. So I just want you to know if you don't come on more, I'm going to have to take a mortgage out on my house. So you can't skip anymore.
Another mortgage.
Another mortgage. I was getting grief in the they're blowing up my personal messages though. They didn't send it to the podcast. So that's almost cheating, right?
They should put it in the Facebook group so everybody can know.
Mock me publicly. Okay.
JR, public scolding.
All right. So if you're looking at the title, it's the Army way. If you're looking at the title, you realize this is the big episode 20. It's 200th episode for us. We had 185 as the sci-fi shenanigans, and now we are at 200 with the Blasters and Blades. So collectively, we're almost 400, but we're going to go with 200 because we're new and improved now, Doc.
That's right.
And
totally agree.
And about to have your own website.
Absolutely. And so
only took 200 episodes.
Only 200. I mean, but we don't look a day over 100, Nick. Not a day over 100.
Oh man, it's not the years, bro. It's the mileage.
So the idea for this one is we brought on another nerdy veteran, Mira, who has been on the episode before too. Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, I corrected you before.
Mara.
Mara, isn't that what I said? I'm hard of hearing.
No, Mira is Spanish for look. You're like mira.
Look, all right. No, I've been blown up 27 times. I get a pass at least once, right?
You got to get yourself a glass of wine, then you'll never mispronounce it again.
Yeah. All right. So note to self: become a wineaholic. All right. So Doc has been trying to school me that wine was better than beer for ages, but she has not yet convinced me.
It's good for heart.
Try the White Zinfandel, man. If you like anything that has fruit in it, any of the blushes will be happy for you.
I tried a blueberry wine.
It's not the only way
get the wine with the. Yeah, get it in a box too. Get some.
I hear it's classier in the box.
Just try mead. Mead is more amazing than any of it.
I've tried mead and I didn't like it, but I'm told like finding the right beer, you got to find the right brew. We talked to who was it? Hillbilly who brews his own. Doc, help me. He's a guest.
Hillbilly does brew his own. Williams.
I couldn't remember his real name though. He's another author.
William Robert something or other.
Hillbilly. He brews his own. He keeps saying that
when your name becomes so synonymous, people forget your real name. That's Hillbilly's problem.
Yeah, so he needs to start putting Hillbilly on his book so people will know who it is. But he was telling me that with the mead, it's like finding the right beer. All of them are different enough that it's worth trying more than one. Unfortunately, they're not
on my grandmother's recipe, so I guess I could make you a bottle of that and see what you think.
Oh, there we go. I've tried moonshine before. That was good. And I've tried the Scottish version of moonshine, which was homebrewed whiskey.
Mead.
That got me in trouble. So at the homebrewed whiskey, it was so smooth you didn't realize you were drunk. And then they drop you off at the barracks and you're crap-faced, shit-faced. You know what we're going to say? We're shit-faced. And apparently, I don't remember much of that night, but I puked on a General's shoes. So that was always a pleasant experience.
It's the 200th episode. If you can't break out the 7 deadly words, when are you going to do it?
Absolutely. So
William Joseph Roberts, that's his name.
There we go. So that's the day I puked on a General's shoes, and Corporal Handley became Private Handley again.
You're not a true NCO until you've done every rank twice.
Well, I was like a triple threat as a corporal, but I only made sergeant once before I got blown up and blown out of the Army.
Did they introduce you to Purple Jesus? Oh, wait, you said you were Army, not Navy.
Yeah, no.
I do like Viking Alchemist Mead, which is also a veteran-owned company.
It's an awesome. I'm telling you, their meads are amazing. They have one called what is it? It's. I always want to call it Antigone, but that's not it. It's not
Antinomy.
Antinomy. Thank you.
I'm being nice and polite and not pouring myself a glass of right now because I have some of that.
Oh, now you want
I've got Zinfandel. Get your meat, girl.
I got some
Get
stuff
your
here.
meat on.
So,
drink it all, slam it down, say score.
I think
Listen,
she was
death metal. Yeah.
Too much. I don't blame
so
her.
Doc was going to try to get them to sponsor us because we talk about them so much.
I love
Meat.
Viking Alchemist. They actually have great meads. You guys should talk about them more. They need to be around for a long time. Meaderies have a tendency to not get enough backing and then go out of business. And I do not want to see that out of them.
And if
They
you're
got a
listening,
really
you can
good
write us a check and
one,
we'll
too.
pimp you every week.
Yeah, they got a really good peach one too. That I don't remember the name of. Of course, it's
Bliss.
Georgia. So
It's called Bliss.
always going to
It's
be
called
amazing. What is it?
It's called Bliss. I serve it to all my buddies from Fort Bliss.
Yeah, it's good.
So we have in Virginia.
Start drinking and forget you're drinking until you wake up the next morning.
Nice.
Yeah.
In Virginia, we have Black Snake Meadery, but I haven't checked on them post-COVID to see if they survived.
I haven't seen anything out of Black Snake in about 3. I'm in Virginia too, you know.
I know.
But I haven't seen anything out since before COVID either, so that makes me worry. There are a couple really good meaderies up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, a couple lesser-known breweries too, but I won't go into those too much because most of them are in southwestern Virginia, my old stomping ground, and they got enough press over there that they don't need me saying their names.
All I'm saying is them hills have eyes.
They do.
You just watch out, and if you hear a banjo, you go running.
Not in southwestern Virginia. Maybe. Well, no, not in Roanoke. In Franklin County, yeah, run for the hills.
I've been up there too.
You heard the banjo playing in Dahlonega where they filmed that damn movie, and you don't have live rounds. All you got is blinks going through the big suck. You're like, yeah, the RIs would play that to mess with you. I didn't sleep.
All right.
Well, I didn't sleep at all anyway, but I definitely.
JR's going to try and keep us on track. He's like, all right, let's move on.
No, I was going to put Doc on the spot and be like, she had planned out the perfect episode 200. And
no,
but it means
that you didn't write the script.
Have to relinquish the reins and let somebody else do the questions.
I said, Mira has a great idea.
She almost said it wrong. Cisca.
10 points reduced from Gryffindor.
And I'll make it a drinking game.
Name pronunciation is a thing. Ask us how we know.
No.
We don't talk about Bruno.
No, not Bruno. Not tonight.
We don't talk about no.
So here's the
thing. I know the words. I have kids.
It was my wedding day. We were getting ready, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. And that's
I think I'm the
only without Disney.
Who hasn't seen Bruno here?
What?
You haven't?
You
haven't? I have no idea what you're talking about.
You never seen Bruno? God. Oh, not Bruno, but
we're gonna do a watch party with Encanto. Adults should watch it too. It's just too much fun.
So, but we talked about doing actually it was Mira's idea to do sorry, JR said something and I
have ideas. What the heck?
About doing one where we talked about kind of the behind the scenes, why we got into doing it, how we've kept going with doing it.
So in that vein, hi, my name.
I invited.
I'm going to be moderating Blasters and Blades for you guys tonight. How y'all doing?
In that vein, I brought on her.
That's cock ready to rock. Luckily, we got a doc.
You may have seen me before on the side of the road. No, you might remember me from moderating elevators at DragonCon. So I do have a quick question for you guys because I mean, I'm new to this. Obviously, I think this is the third one you guys have had me on.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm new. 3 out of 200 means I missed 197 of these. So, JR, how did you meet Cisca?
So I started the podcast in 2017 when I started writing because I needed to get myself out there, and I didn't want to just talk to other authors because that's like the biggest mistake new authors make. They only want to talk to other authors who most likely don't have time to read their books. So I said, well, let me talk to the readers because I like nerdy stuff. They like nerdy stuff. Let's do a podcast. After season 1, Winder, my co-host at the time, who had to get a real job, he said, sometimes it's a sausage party and, a different perspective would be helpful. Maybe we could find a female veteran who could show us the other side of military life. And so I reached out to Casey Azell, who I knew was a Air Force veteran and a pilot. And, you know, I dealt with her before on an interview. And so I said, I know you probably don't have time, but do you know any other female veterans, maybe new authors that are hungry to get themselves out there that'd be willing to come on and be a co-host? And she goes, no, but I have someone who doesn't know how to say no to things, and I can talk her into this. And I said, sure, that sounds like a good person to have as a friend. And so she introduced us to Doc. Well, introduced me and Winder to Doc Winder and I. And we had about an hour conversation.
Grammar.
Yeah, I know. I'm correcting my grammar, but I've had a few myself tonight. I mean, I'm not going to be puking on a general shoes tonight. That's next week.
I lost my smokes.
Uh-oh. And so Doc and I talked for an hour, and we realized with Winder that the chemistry, like, for a chat was there, so it wasn't going to be like watching grass grow or something boring. So we decided to give it a shot, and she came in on season 2. So at season 1, we did 1 episode a week. So she came in at Sci-Fi Shenanigans episode 56, I believe.
Wow.
And then we decided we wanted to get more people listening because Doc was ambitious. She said, why don't we do 3 episodes a week?
I have no idea what you mean by Cisca being ambitious. No. I've never seen any ambition.
Well, she's really ambitious when she's volunteering other people to do the job.
She really is, especially when she picks up the phone and goes, hey, my friend said you might be good at this, so I thought I'd call and ask.
That's actually not how that went.
So Doc actually
podcast about that one already. All right.
So
Cisca,
there's actually what's unique about Doc's episode, because before we brought her on so they could get to know her, we interviewed her. She was the only episode that broke the bank when it came, because we used to do show notes that included every book that was ever referenced in the show. I found links to them. And if we mentioned an article, I hunted all that. I got time for that now. We don't do that anymore. But Doc listed so many books in the first 10 minutes. I should have known then that day ship had sailed, but we made an effort. I listened to it 4 times in pre-production to try to write all that crap down. There were 27 pages of show notes. Yeah, and that's when Winder was like, JR, I think we ought to not go so nuts anymore. Like, just get the big ones.
Well, so Cisca, what made you say, yes to JR? I mean, I know you can't say no to anybody, but what made you go, yeah, this is a really good idea?
So I will say, Casey approached me, and she was like, it was like New Year's or something. And she was like, so I have an idea and I really want you to say yes to it. She's very blunt about that part. I think you should say yes to this, which generally means she gets stink eye if you don't. She lets you know the correct answer before she asks you the question. It's a very good handy officer tactic and a very dangerous mom tactic.
Fair.
So, and I went, well, okay. And so we talked about it, and it seemed like a fun idea at the time. Lord knows I was wrapping up getting my chemistry degree at the time. So it was like I had so much extra time. Not. But it was worth doing. And to be honest, it was like, okay, there's a certain level of when you're finishing college, you feel really, really great. But at the same time, when you're applying to jobs and they're like, hey, you're kind of old. But they're not actually politely saying that or honestly saying that. They're just kind of hinting around the bush. You start to feel kind of like this big. So it was actually a really great thing for me because it kind of evened out the tempo. And it was like, okay, there are things I can do, but I would say actually going back to that initial episode, I could tell when Winder finally got around to editing the audio because he started texting and he goes, you met who? You read who? You really like classics. And it's like, I've been doing this with you guys for a month, guys, and you're just now listening to this? You're just now figuring out, because I didn't want to be like, I will admit, I was hesitant at first, because I did not want to be like the check mark, we've all seen shows where they have like the checklist. Do they have this demographic? Do they have this demographic? And I didn't want to be that person who was brought in because I happen to have ovaries and a DD214 as a match set. So I wanted.
Wait. Are you saying that you weren't brought on because you checked boxes? Because I'm just curious. I mean,
I think that was part of why they were looking, and I fit the right thing, but I was a good fit.
I was gonna say JR just said he was looking for check boxes.
So
you checked
we
all
were
the
looking.
boxes and we're cool.
So it was twofold. Sometimes I had to bail on episodes because we've talked about I have special needs kids, and sometimes that meant Winder would have to go solo, and he wasn't as comfortable. He's more of an introvert who faked it because he liked me. We got along. We were good friends. And so I was thinking having a co-host would make that easier on days I had to balance so we could split the load a little bit if somebody's life got a little nuts. So we knew we wanted a third person. And then Winder got the bright idea that if we found a female veteran, because let's face it, like we had the Marine non-combat arms, we had the Army combat arms with me. Having a female veteran of any branch in any MOS would give a slightly different perspective because, like, one thing you learn in the military is everyone's experience is dependent on who they were, where they were, and what they did. So, a grunt in the Army and a grunt in the Marines, pretty similar. A cook in the Army and a cook in the Marines, pretty similar. But a grunt in a cook's life is somewhat different. Yeah. And so, given the era that we all served in, we recognize that a female experience in the military might not be the same as ours. Yeah, that was what we were looking for, was we wanted the veteran who brought something different to the table. If we had found a guy that brought something different than the two of us, we would have jumped on that too.
So I will say this, we scared a whole bunch of people because when we finally had the production meeting and it was like, okay, you're a fit, we're all in agreement, let's do this. I posted, because Winder is a Marine. He's a Marine. He's no longer active duty, but Marines are always Marines, so they tell me. Wow. I had an organic
Navy equipment.
I had an organic crown egg that was made from organic soy Crayola stuff, and I posted it. Look what Winder gave me as a welcome to the show. It's all organic, even.
That's a big deal.
And
when
then
they give
a
that
bunch of people started messaging JR, convinced that he was leaving.
Oh, they thought we were firing him. And then when he heard about it, his boss used to listen. They started getting like paper plates, and they'd put all the crowns that were left in the various classrooms and dribble them with ketchup and present it to him like it was his lunch. They did that to him for like a solid month.
Oh, that poor man.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you guys end up finding Nick, and what on earth possessed you to bring him in?
So we started when Winder's had to get a day job that had insurance because his insurance was originally through his wife. Without going into their business, he needed to get a job to help out with the insurance side of things. Careers in transition, and when you work for yourself, sometimes somebody's got to have the insurance. And so he just couldn't do it anymore. He wasn't writing anymore either. So his motivation to do it, I mean, we're still friends. I talk to him all the time. But so Doc and I were like, well, if we're going to do this, like Winder left, let's rebrand to do sci-fi and fantasy because, she's the fantasy track director.
They would ask me, they'd be like, got a good author to bring on? Sure. Okay, that's great. These are wonderful authors. They don't write fantasy because
or sci-fi.
That was the big... Don't write sci-fi because that was the big thing. Sci-fi shenanigans only did science and science fiction.
So you were missing a huge subset of listeners.
Well, I used to joke that it was like I got both sides of my personality taken care of between the two.
Yeah. So we knew we wanted for the same reason I had a third co-host with the last podcast. Doc and I said, let's get a third one and see if we can find another veteran. And we were talking with Walt, and we joked that we were going to, because we were asking at the time, I was asking him software to use because we used different programs that were a lot less user-friendly.
This is Walt Robelards, for anybody who's listening. And this is why I call him Grandpa Walt.
So he's the one who hooked us up with Anchor FM being idiot proof, so otherwise known as JR proof on the podcast. And in StreamYards, which is how we record, he's the one who said those are easy programs, even you can handle it. So once we had the program set up, we were getting the titles, and then I said, well, we're looking for another co-host. We want another veteran. And he said, well, do you have anybody that does comics? Because that's the one angle for sci-fi and fantasy you're missing is comics and games. And I said, no, we don't have anybody. He goes, well, I got this friend, Nick. He was in the Army too. He was a spicy grunt, and he plays RPGs, tabletop RPGs, and he's a comics guy, so you get a twofer on that one. So we could sort of expand our audience. And so we did that because, like I said, you got to make sure you have audio chemistry. We've met plenty of authors who we absolutely adore their books and we like them personally, but on a podcast, they're boring.
Fair.
And so they get too uptight. They can't let go for whatever reason. Although some of those authors, if you get a few drinks in them, they're the life of the party.
So now you bring me to my next question for you two.
So he introduced us to Nick.
Who is the most boring interview you've ever done?
Oh, no. We can't do that. No. That's not
nice. Okay.
Actually,
who's the most exciting interview you've ever done?
Also me.
The one you were the most excited for, the one you enjoyed the most? JR.
So I really love Mark Allen Idle Heights Steiger's Tiger series. So that was a lot of fun because we couldn't do it until we were the Blasters and Blades. We did get a lot of fun when we picked our name. Originally, we had a few others, and we had BattleTech Corporation send us a few cease and desist letters because apparently we trampled over their copyright. Who knew?
No.
So that was a whole ordeal. And finally, we reached out to Richard Fox because we were talking about it while we were doing it, who writes Mill Sci-Fi. And we said, we've got these names. You're really good on this kind of stuff. Which one won't get us sued? And that's how we ended up with Blasters and Blades, because he's dealt with IP lawyers before.
Well, and you say BattleTech sued you, so that just gives
No, they didn't sue us. They just sent us a letter that says, please stop.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And we hadn't even done anything but announce it on Twitter yet. So, I mean, no harm, no foul. Like yeah, they were kind about it. Like we called them. Like I talked to their lawyer on the phone. I'm like, I don't understand. Like we're a podcast there. And they were really nice. They even explained the law behind the IP. I'm sure for them it was billable hours that were easy that they could then turn around and bill the other guy. But I mean, it was kind of cool for them to explain some of the IP law to me as someone who's never had to really worry about that. But yeah, when we rebranded and we could do sci-fi and fantasy, so I really like Mark Allen Idle Heights. That was a lot of fun. He takes himself very seriously, which makes it a fun interview. In a good way. Like I like that guy's books to death, and he's really friendly. He's not quite at the David Weber series level where he like absolutely loves his universe to the point where he wants to live there. He's sort of that meets reality as a person.
I will say this though, he did name his house Steiger's Run.
I mean, I got nothing against that. And then so that one.
I was actually on a great panel with him at Dragon Con too that Cisca set up. I think that one was historical fantasy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And it was amazing to have him on that panel. He is so much fun to talk to.
I can't wait to get him back on to talk about his Roman Legion in Space series that he's doing. But
right, Cisca,
but yes.
What
I had one more.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, JR.
Jesus, JR with the words.
I know. Who knew? I like to talk.
I have a strategy. Let him finish this one. Then I have a strategy for the next one. Go ahead, JR.
So the two books that when I first got diagnosed with a TBI, I couldn't read. Like just the print was giving me migraines. So when I discovered the Kindle, I found two books together. Joe and Terry Mixon. Joe, I'm drawing up. Vasicek, I think is how you say it. It's a Slavic name, and I butcher it every time. And so when I got to interview both of those, that was kind of cool because like reading their stuff saved my life. So
that's awesome. Don't ever tell an author that, by the way, because you will terrify the living daylights out of them. Case in point, Cisca put me on an amazing panel at Dragon Con with one of the people that truly bona fidely wrote books that saved my life when I was a kid. And after the panel, I looked at him and told me that, and I don't think Timothy Zahn will ever look at me again. All right, Cisca, who's your favorite?
I think honestly Matthew Quinn is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Why?
About Matthew Quinn.
That's the cyberpunk guy. We were just talking about him earlier today, JR. But he was so much fun because it was one of the.
You mean Goodwin?
What? Goodwin. Sorry.
Goodwin, not Quinn.
Matthew Quinn was fun too. He came to Dragon Con, and that was so cool actually meeting somebody in person who follows the TED podcast. But Goodwin was fun because it was the first time we had somebody on who turned from being a listener to an author to a guest. And and you could really tell that he had listened to all the episodes, including my my passionate dissertation about Faulkner.
So I gotta say, there is fair warning. If you ever talk to the guy in person, he could sell ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah,
Seriously,
definitely.
an hour into this episode, and I agreed to publish a cyberpunk anthology that's coming out this month, October. And I don't even read the genre. I know nothing about it. I didn't contribute. I'm just publishing it because he convinced me.
He's very good at that.
Him and Casey Azell are right up there with convincing you to do things you didn't know you wanted to do.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what about you, Nick? What was your favorite episode so far?
I got a few of them. Doc Spears, definitely cool to talk to. My favorite Air Force officer, Casey. Dennis Robinson, which we just recently did with his Lycan book.
And Casey
awesome
was
stuff.
on with Larry Correa, right?
Yeah.
He's been on a few times.
Yeah, there's like one of the few times that I got to be part of the interview where it was just her. She was kind of the spot.
So y'all want to see my strategy for getting JR back on track?
Are you gonna squirt me with a water bottle?
Oh,
Kitty.
So
Everybody loves baby kittens.
I've already named it. It's Formure in my mind. I don't care what you name it.
What's his name?
Formure.
Formure? You know what? I actually kind of like that. We might go with that for this guy. So this guy was just born 8 days ago. See, we live on a farm. We're not that far from JR, but we are that far from JR.
So that's the cool thing
that's Virginia for you.
So that's the cool thing that Nick and I realized one of the times where we did the drunken episode where we did the Forgotten Ruin drunk
Was
panel.
it forgotten because you were drunk?
No, that's the name of the series, and we got drunk. The guest was like 2 hours late.
To be fair, the guest was an hour and a half late. It went from being a production meeting to a venting about life, catching up with our buddies meeting, and then the guest logged in and went, "Oh, good, you're here. Let's do this."
And Nick said, "Fuck it, we'll do it live."
Okay.
Yep. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
That session,
it got me through the Army. Got me through 17 years of that. We'll just do it live.
Driving a car throughout all of it, so the lighting is always very weird on him.
But in the pre-production of that interview, I realized that one of the times that my unit was ambushed and pinned down in Iraq, we called a helicopter support who, in the middle of a firefight with tracers going both directions, they couldn't get their panties out of the wad and say, I think we got positive identification. They just left us. Like you're on your own. And so we ended up calling in a Ranger team, sniper team to help get us out. And I just mentioned that it was the Reaper team. I didn't know them. Like they were just a call sign to me. And Nick's like, no shit, that was my unit. So we actually met in Iraq before we had known anything about each other.
No, you didn't meet in Iraq. You were
I met his boys.
2 rounds passing in the night.
Passed in the night, except not ships, because that would make you Navy.
Yeah, we weren't that guy. But
two ground forces intermingling, not knowing one another, kind of like a drunken.
Let's talk about ground forces intermingling. Why don't we? No, that's a whole nother podcast. Anyway.
Yeah, I wasn't in the 8 seconds, so I never filmed anything. Or
we're not talking about how Cisca decided to have a kid. All right, now.
Whoa! You got knocked up by an 82nd dude.
Speaking of family. Yeah, so speaking of family, you guys all have some family unit going on. What do your family units think about the time it takes you to do these podcasts? I'm going to start with Nick on that one.
I get stabbed a lot.
We call her Miss Stabby. That's her name, by the way, for the podcast, Miss Stabby.
Yeah.
Miss Stabby, got it.
Yeah.
Should we tell him, Doc, how he got that? She got that name from us?
Only if they
she came in and stabbed me.
So during the first session where we were trying to decide if the chemistry was right, we were. So what should have been like a 15-minute, honest, it's going to be a 15-minute call, Nick. An hour and a half later, we were still chatting. And his wife came in. She said, dinner is getting cold at this point. You get your butt out there or I will stab you. And she had a butcher knife in her hand.
Oh, my God.
And that's when Doc started calling her Miss Stabby, and it stuck. So she's Madam Stabby.
I loved it, though.
Okay, so
awesome.
that could have ended up with a police episode, but instead it ended up with him on a podcast. I love that.
But we love her. She is awesome. Stabby is our friend.
That's cool. What about you, Cisca? How's your family handle it?
My family is okay with it. It was bumpy at first, no lie, because it can draw a lot of balancing issues at times as a single mom. but I'm really lucky. I have had to take to both bribing and docking my spawn's life. Where it's, oh, you came in and it wasn't earth-shatteringly important, 25 cents, please. Uh
So you've got a swear jar, but instead of swearing, it's for interrupting the podcast.
It is, because we do a lot of times people will go, why does Doc seem so out of it? And we make jokes that I've been drinking, but part of it is I start my day before 6, and many of our episodes are recorded at 9 o'clock at night. And so there's been one or two where I think I've actually fallen asleep.
Yeah, actually, I found this kind of interesting until I started watching previous episodes of Blasters and Blades and going out and looking at comments and things on Facebook and your group and everything else. I didn't realize people actually think you drink and drink heavily. And I can tell you, because I've known Cisca for about 7 years now. And I've spent like the better part of the last 2.5 pretty much on the phone with her, up to 16 hours a day doing stuff. It's a little crazy. I can count the number of times I've seen you drink more than one glass on probably both hands. So I was like, wait, what do you mean you think Cisca drinks? What?
We do make a lot of jokes about it. I will say my family's been great, because a lot of times if it's like, I have a podcast tonight, so either we're doing I'm not like, either we're doing food and I'm doing the dishes immediately as you're cooking it, or we're doing food and I'm not doing the dishes. So
that's what Spawn is for.
Yeah, except he's not very good at it yet.
Yeah, he'll get there.
You gotta crack that whip. Make him do a few more push-ups. He'll get it.
There you go. So
I make.
All right, you're a single dad, right?
Yes, he is.
JR?
JR, that's you, buddy.
No.
Oh, we don't talk about Bruno. Got it. All right.
Right. He's a dedicated family man that loves his children.
Yes, and that's
So,
a huge thing. No, I totally get it, because I'm actually a special needs mom too. I've got 5, and I tend not to talk about them online also. So sorry, I tripped a little thing there. Let's move on.
No, it helps me teach them boundaries. There are plenty of times where I've had to edit out them interrupting, or I'm quick on the mute button. I don't know if the audience watching ever sees the little mute icon come out. That's generally when the kids come in. Doc likes to make fun that it's Elvis all the time. My dog barks, but not that much. But yeah, it's
dog Elvis.
Hey, no,
he's a hound dog. Of course, the vet named him Elvis. I got him from the SPCA. He's a rescue dog.
Oh, that's awesome. Does he have blue suede shoes?
No, but he has a blue collar.
That's even better. I will make him some blue suede shoes for rain booties.
That is awesome. I've actually looked for a suede collar, but they don't make it. They said the material isn't tough enough.
I can make you one. I know how to do that. Yes.
So it's been good at teaching them.
Seamstresses on here now.
We do. So it's been good at teaching the kids boundaries on, like, when someone's door is closed, you knock before you come in, and you wait to be said, hey, come in. And so that's been good. It makes them not have to listen to my jokes over and over again. I make our audience listen to them. So that works for them. And let's see, they're not as interested in the same nerdy stuff as me. So it's a win-win for them.
We had a funny one. What?
Sorry, I was about to interrupt you. Go ahead.
So we had a funny one when we did the first episode with Larry Correa. My son came in just as we were starting, before we hit record, and Larry goes, wow, you really do have a kid.
Oh, that's fun.
Awesome.
Because I don't take my son to fandom events typically. There's like 1, maybe 2 events in a year I'll take him to. So it was like, yeah, no, she really does have a kid. I've seen it.
I've seen it.
We've seen, unfortunately, people be crazy. And so I know authors who've had people, because they didn't like their political views, show up outside their kids' bus stop and get real weird. So, I mean, Doc and I both, because our kids are of that age, we're just overly cautious.
No, I totally understand. I'm actually the same way. We have 5 amazing special needs kiddos, and a couple of them have very unique, what we like to call special powers. And one of our super powered children needed a hero. And, you know, in Virginia, we've got a lot of really cool heroes who also just happen to be politicians.
Oof.
And accidentally got her involved to the extent that she became part of a political platform and attracted the attention of some very bad people. And so, yeah, we've actually lived the opposite side of what can happen if your kids end up in the spotlight without you intending to. So now they all have special names like Valkyrie and Iron Frog and
Iron Frog. Nick, draw us that comic. That sounds
Garber.
cool.
I'm telling you, now he goes by Tree Gremlin, but he was Iron Frog for like 11 years, and we always wanted to do an Iron Man suit with a frog head for him because we're.
I mean, I could deal with that. That would be pretty badass. I mean, I keep volunteering Nick to draw things.
That, but he changed his name.
I've also just seen where the good can happen too from it, but just kids don't always have the tool set.
Well, I mean, we got good and bad from it. So the good of being involved with the politician was that one particular child who had a lot of issues and did not feel accepted in society found that she really did have a place and a really good voice, and she could use it for excellent things, and also figured out how to stand up against some pretty mean adult bullies. But that said, we still had to figure out how to protect her from some pretty mean adult bullies. And so I would not wish
and also just some crazy, like, over identification and even in a positive way.
Yeah.
Let's use that to segue. That is one of the dangers when you follow different authors or influencers or whatever the term you're using these days is sometimes it can artificially create the sense that you really know them instead of knowing the persona they're putting out there. Because like anybody that knows me in person knows that I'm pretty passionate about certain political topics. I never discussed that in my JR official because, you know, if people wanted to be preached at, they'd go to church. So right. I just go with the funny memes. And if it's not like humor related or military veteran issue, I just don't talk about it. And so people that know that person might not realize the other parts. And so I use that as an example to say, sometimes it's easy to think you know someone when you don't because of platforms. And it's important as a listener to remember that there are parts that they're not showing you off camera. And that's okay, and that's healthy.
Yeah, so talking about knowing yourself the way other people don't know you. Quick question. Have you ever talked about what led you to join the military? And if not, you want to tell us now?
So it's pretty simple. I don't think there's been a Handley not in the Army since before the Revolution. Although I have been told that my Revolutionary War ancestors fought for the wrong side, so oops. But they stayed afterwards. They moved to Canada, you know, after the war, and then immigrated back.
Side, so it's all good.
Yeah, I fought for the right side, though. Although I was in college, I did the Civil War reenacting, and I met a girl who was associated with the Confederate Daughters of the Confederacy, and she actually got mad when I enlisted because we were dating at the time because she thought that meant I was a traitor to the cause, and I'm like, you do realize we're just playing pretend, and the war ended like 100 and something years ago, right? Like this is just dress up.
Wow,
that relationship didn't last when I shipped to boot camp.
I mean, they got their wish. We switched to ACUs for a while. That's a gray color.
But see, Virginia does have a weird culture when it comes to reenactments. Like, I'm guessing maybe she was from around the Williamsburg area?
She was from just south in North Carolina. She was just south of the border.
Oh, okay. So she wasn't a Virginian. Because
No.
I've noticed that. We do a lot of costuming stuff for reenactors, and we have seen, like, some of the people that play on one side or the other get very into it, and it extends into their daily lives too, and it's like, yeah, okay, you do realize that was like 100 and almost 200 years ago now, right?
we can let it go. It's all good.
Let it go. We got to move on to other things. So
Yeah,
Nick, what made you enlist?
I come from a military family, but it was mostly Navy. So like my dad was
So
a
you were a
SEAL.
rebel against the family.
No, I don't like deep water and I don't like boats. Then when I get into the Army, they put me in deep water and made me ride on boats.
That's because they knew you.
So what did you do?
I adapted and I overcame. So
She asked what your MOS was.
11. I started out as 11 Bravo, and then in 2008 I became an 11 Alpha.
And for those people who don't understand what that means in civilian terms.
I prestiged and fucked up. I became an officer.
So I was 11 Bravo as well. So I was infantry, and then he went to be an Army Ranger. So I was the grunt. He was the super grunt.
Gotcha.
Well, I guess technically 11 Victor is
So,
because that's the
let's
name of
just talk
Western
about
Ranger.
the fact that that most branches don't really know what other branches do or what.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, because you
Absolutely
guys
not.
call it MOS and we don't call it MOS. We call it rate.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So in the Navy, it's what you rate. So were you an MM?
Dad was an SO2
yeah.
and SO2. So that's what they classify the SEALs as. They're special operators. Grandfather during Korea, he was a frogman and a parachute rigger. And then he slowed it down by getting into the Coast Guard and retiring that as a parachute rigger. So I guess he liked parachute rigging. I went to the Navy first, and by the advice from my father and my grandfather, like, don't do anything and don't accept anything unless they give you everything you want. And it's all in writing. I'm like, all right,
True
cool.
story.
So I'm thinking about, following my father's footsteps. Like, I was in San Diego, went over to the recruiter, right, towards the end of my senior year, and they're like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to jump out of planes. I want to blow shit up. I want to be a SEAL. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. So, like, you have to volunteer for that. I'm like, yeah, you got something you can put in writing. I'm volunteering for it right now. So after boot and my A school, I'll go. He's like, yeah, we don't do it that way. So, like, somewhere in between boot camp and your A school, you got to, yeah, Rangers is definitely going to range.
See, you guys are really messing with me because, like, I got eye issues. I'm like, what does that say? Oh my god!
And I thought you were like giving me a goofy look.
No.
She's really peered into my soul right now.
I can't see anything. Oh wait, there you go.
This started when Doc got the power behind the admin stuff, and then she lost it for a while because she signed out and she forgot her login. And then when she signed back in today for the first time, she's going a little power hungry with all the banners that she can do. And she's giggling the whole time.
One up there that says, "Mayor, I can't read this." Anyway.
She's gonna figure out how to put it in Braille, which is gonna be hilarious.
So okay, what about you, Cisca? What influenced you to? I've heard this story, but what made you join the Army?
She like dudes.
That is not cool, Nick. Girls
but
join
it's
the
funny,
Army
and only vets can do that to each other. Because JR could have easily said, "Hey, Nick, when you ask me why'd you join the Army, you could be like, because Nick likes dudes, and I do. Sort of. If I'm drunk enough. Any port in a storm." That's an old Navy adage I've learned.
God, y'all ragging on the Navy so much. Jeez, man.
No.
It in there. Diversify. You got 3 Army. When you bringing somebody else in? No, anyway, go ahead, Cisca.
We can't bring the Air Force in because they almost joined the military.
Dude, the Air Force is not a military branch. It's desperate to happen.
Okay, so here's my philosophy. There's only 2 branches of the military: the Army and the Navy. The Marine Corps is a freaking cult, and the Air Force is a corporation.
Yes.
What about the Space Force? Huh?
Space Force is a subsidiary of the Air Force and worse. And
no.
Coast Guard is basically Navy light.
Wait for it. No. The Space Force is a delusion of grandeur.
It's called Starfleet and been done with it.
And the Coast Guard got the good foster home.
So we should let you know, dear listener, we are recording this the week that the Space Force put out their Fruitalicious new anthem. I'm trying to be as friendly and understanding as I can be.
Bad.
But it is bad.
The Navy has anchors way. The Army has the Army goes marching along. The Space Force has
Kenny G. He did a great job for Star Trek.
I mean, I look at it this way. The best anthem for joining the military ever will always be YMCA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I don't
know. Okay, nobody else found that funny. That's because I'm Navy. Go ahead. Cisca, why'd you join the Army?
So
YMCA.
I would say the timing of it was in part. I was finishing school and I wasn't like going down a bad path, but I definitely felt like I needed a change. And the Army, going active duty particularly, I identified as a route to doing that. And I'd always wanted to join the military, which I think is the story you're getting at. So I joined the military. I'm an Army brat. My mom's an Army brat. I'm an oil field brat. And leg lives do matter because
No, they don't.
I totally read that as Legolas lives matter because I had my glasses on and had double vision.
Legolas's life did matter.
So I was born and raised for the first 8 years over in Saudi Arabia. And when we were on vacation, Desert Storm 1 happened. And there were many nights during Desert Storm 1 where my dad was overseas working and doing things that needed to be done as a civilian in the process of everything going on during that. And I remember being very scared because I was 8 years old. That is a scary thing to go through as an 8-year-old. Your daddy's in a war zone. And by the way, that war zone isn't a weird place on TV. It's your hometown. So all the places on the news were places I recognized. My mom looked at me and told me that it was going to be okay because the U.S. Army was there. And the U.S. Army would protect my dad. And so for me, joining the Army wasn't about the grandeur, being a Ranger, I joined when women weren't allowed in the Rangers. So that was a moot point. But it wasn't about any of the hoopla and the stars and the stripes. It was about the really real aspect of we have 4 U.S. citizens and allies overseas, sometimes in dangerous places, and somebody needs to be there to help them, not for the glory, not for anything else, but to be there to help them. And I wanted to be part of that more so than I wanted to be anything else. And I never really looked at any other branches because of it. So
okay.
Wait. I will say this: I did actually upset the Navy recruiter because because
not hard to upset Navy recruiters.
No, but I almost upset the Navy recruiter, and I was getting hit on, and I think got escorted out every time out of the recruitment center by the NCOs because I looked at the Navy guy, goes, "No, you can be a medic in the Navy," and I went, "Yeah, but don't you guys treat Marines?" And he goes, "Yeah," and I went, "I can't say no to a Marine." And then from then on, I was not allowed in or out past the Marine Recruiting Center without an escort.
Heads up, they're not called NCOs, they're chiefs. That said, again, military lingo does differ by branch. Okay, so Cisca just touched on one of the reasons why she joined the armed forces. Brings me to my next question for all of you. You guys do this thing at the beginning of every show, what's your religion, right? What's your favorite superhero? Nick, you're a comic book artist. What's your favorite superhero?
Daredevil.
Why is Daredevil your favorite?
I was raised Catholic, so I'd never seen anything else in the comic book universes that was, I was represented as a white guy, but like my religion was never represented. That, and I thought it was cool as hell that this guy has a physical disability, he can't see, and he's still able to kick so much ass. I just thought that was really cool, and I never saw a whole lot of Daredevil stuff. Me being always a rebel, like everyone's into Wolverine or Spider-Man, Cap, Batman. I also like Batman, but Daredevil was that was the first comic book I ever picked up, and I fell in love with the character. I fell in love with his world and everything that he was about. And when I read that he's in a church and he's doing confession, I'm like, holy shit, that's me. But I can see, but it's me, and the rest is history. I've been a Daredevil fan ever since. Every time I go to the comic book store, I'm picking up old issues of Daredevil that I don't have. And
wait, there are issues of Daredevil you don't have?
There's like 6 of them. I'll find them.
I probably own them.
I'll find them. They're the ones that there's a few from 1971 that I don't have.
All right, JR, what about you?
I don't actually have a favorite comic book hero. I guess if I want to be cheeky, I can say Captain America because he was Army, but
superhero.
Yeah, I don't.
Kathy's
don't
a
really-
superhero.
I
Doesn't
never
have
really
to be a
like.
comic book. There are superheroes that are not in comic books.
That was just never my jam, though. Like I never got into the superhero side of things. I read a lot of fantasy stuff growing up, so I was, I liked a lot of the classics. So I read Beowulf, some of those kinds of, the classic stories. I know I was a nerd from OG, but
Nerd.
There's
so
nothing wrong with
superheroes were
Beowulf.
never.
Beowulf's still awesome in a comic book or in,
I think we could
Yes,
argue that Beowulf is a superhero.
yes, he is.
Okay, well then Beowulf would be if you're counting him as a superhero. But yeah, he's
I count him.
yeah. We'll go with Beowulf then. Sure, it's
Awesome.
been decided by Nick.
All right, Cisca, what about you?
Ooh, I was never really that into superheroes. I loved
Jesus Christ, how are we friends?
I'm
I-
actually asking the same thing.
so I think probably Storm was really one of my absolute favorites.
It's a good one.
I did love Jean Grey. I've always had a soft spot for a telepath for some reason.
Category 5 mutant up there with Magneto. Very good.
Magneto always seemed like extra angry.
No. Category 5. Jean Grey is a
Yeah,
cat
she's
5.
category 5 mutant. That's what he's saying.
That's same power level as Magneto. She's a badass.
So
She's not there with X-Men, baby. She's not there.
No,
Don't worry.
I'm not. She's right.
No. As geeky as you are on comic books, as I am on comic books, I put them on the spot about superheroes because the next thing I'm going to do is put you on the spot about fantasy and sci-fi.
Okay. Well, I'm well rounded. So
All right. So, okay.
That's a shape that's not approved.
That's fair. All right. So, Nick, what about you with fantasy? What's your favorite fantasy character?
well, I don't know. I always consider Dune kind of on the razor's edge between fantasy and sci-fi. I'm a big fan of that series.
It's fall, so the spice must flow.
The spice must flow.
It's fall,
He
so I
controls
broke out
the
the Christmas sweater.
Nice. Well, it's still 80 degrees here, and I hate it. I'm wanting cold weather, and I want to be able to wear my hoodies and my.
Now,
gray sweat.
you're in California?
Yeah, I'm in San Diego.
San Diego, yeah.
And today was a non-wind day, so on a windy day, on a coastal wind day, it's perfectly comfortable. Today the wind did not flow, so.
Yikes! Yeah, I was at Monterey for a little bit. You probably know what you would call my MOS was by that, but
Yeah.
Ooh,
I can take a guess. I can take a guess.
What about you, Cisca?
Oh, fantasy-wise, I would say Paxanarian. From The Deed of Paxanarian by Elizabeth Moon. So sci-fi-wise, it's another classic. So.
All right. What about you, JR?
So my make sure I was unmuted. So my favorite fantasy, I always liked the Belgariad series by David Eddings. That was the first one I read that was actual proper chapter books. I remember getting in trouble in elementary school for reading that behind the math book because I was bored with class. It was too easy. For sci-fi, it was about the Star Wars legend books now, I think they're calling it, but the Star Wars books that aren't canon anymore.
Wait,
Screw you, George Lucas.
JR?
Yeah.
Maybe if you paid attention in math, you'd be better at science.
Psst. Whatever.
Cisca. What? You do not math shame people.
Ask JR how many people go to Dragon Con.
30, 40. It's a dozen or so.
Quite a few. It's under 100.
Thank you. Thank you.
Multiply that by 10,000, add about another 20. You're good.
See, math. Don't blame me. I went to public school.
To be fair, public school in Virginia is like saying, yes, I have a kindergarten education. All right.
There you go.
No.
Any author that you could get on the podcast that you would desperately like to have as a guest, living or deceased, who would it be?
Oh, Tolkien.
Ooh. Like that one.
I would love to interview Tolkien.
Those sentences would be very long.
They would.
And I'm here for it. And I got plenty of whiskey. and I would just be sitting because Tolkien was a drinker too. Either that or Hemingway.
Oh,
way.
Oh,
gorgeous. I'd love to. Bronte. Can you imagine?
Oh shit, yeah.
oh
All right,
my
what about
god!
you?
I thought they were gonna say
We could
Fawlty.
have a three-way podcast for those guys, and it would be like a 4-hour episode, and everyone would be here for it.
So I'm with him. I'd like to talk to Tolkien about the Psalm. I want to know,
Oh yeah.
like, that man went through some shit, and it shows in some of the darkness of his writings. And I'd want to dive into it because I don't know. That just sounds like it inspired the story that created the genre of fantasy as we know it today. So I'd like to dive in deeper with him on that. And, for good measures, we'd grab all of the Inklings and just grab them. That's his writing group. If you don't know people, you should look them up. They were awesome. But I'd drag all of them on board just so they could mock him. I want to see if World War II veterans mock each other the way GWAT veterans do, Global War on Terror. Because
Roman soldiers were still drawing dicks on their latrines. So
yes, I know.
Soldiers do not change.
I would like to. The lady that wrote Frankenstein, I'd like to interview her. That could be cool. Yeah, to see if she realized what she was doing when she was writing that story, or if it was just a fever dream she had to get out. Because boundaries were broken with that.
As the lore,
I would ask the
as
same
the lore
question.
Is it was a drunken bet amongst authors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
she wrote it on a dare.
Sorry, go ahead.
He wrote it on a dare. There's 3 other writers, and they were all having dinner, and they were drinking absinthe, I believe, which is, if you've never had it, not the American version, because that's tame. If you went to Europe and had it, where you're seeing green fairies and shit, definitely take part of that. It's awesome.
Oh, no. The European version has nothing on the Cajun version of absinthe. Ask me how I know.
I will hit you up a private message. I have to have this.
Hey, Shade, you willing to make some absinthe?
Oh, yeah. Next,
I'm down too.
For those who don't know, because of course I'm new to this podcast, I'm married to a Cajun.
There you go. So, yeah. What about you? If you could interview, since, we're going to flip the script on you a little bit, who would you want to interview, Mara?
You can't do that.
Oh, on me?
Yeah, who would you want to interview?
God, there are so many. Lewis Carroll, Edgar Allan Poe, Hemingway.
Tag me in on the Lewis Carroll one if that happens.
Bronte, Mercedes Lackey. I would love, and she's still here, but I would love to interview Mercedes Lackey.
I met her at RavenCon. She is something else.
Yeah, I met her briefly at RavenCon. Didn't get to talk to her for more than 5 minutes.
Get her on the show.
Michael
Stackpole.
I love Michael Stackpole. I'm a huge fan. I'm also an Extended Universe fan, and I've talked to Zahn and I've talked to Anderson, and I've made my significant ass out of myself talking to both because I'm a huge geek. I at one point in time actually made a Qui Jux cosplay from Darksaber and shocked the living daylights out of Kevin Anderson with it. And
nice.
Yeah, you want to talk about making a complete and total ass out of yourself? I did that. But
that is how wars are won.
Yeah.
I mean, are we talking puke on the 3-star shoes kind of an ass?
I'm sorry?
Is it like puke on a 3-star general shoes kind of make an ass of yourself?
No. It's like the, oh my God, I'm your biggest fan. I've been reading your book since I was 7. And oh my God, I just made him feel like he's ancient.
Fair.
In the elevator at RavenCon. Yes.
Oh my God. Not even at the table.
It was horrific.
That's.
Yeah.
RavenCon was, so we were there in 2015. It's one of the few cons I've been to. I don't like, the crowds just weren't for me, but that was the 2015 or 2016 was the one. Yeah, it was 2016 was the one where my youngest had his first seizure. So we got the call while we were in line to get Mercedes Lackey to sign something. And when they heard, they pulled us out of line, her and her husband, who's her artist. Okay. They pulled us out of line, signed our stuff, and her husband slammed a 20 in my hand and said, "Go be with your son." Because he was worried we might not have guests.
Do you remember the woman that was out in the hallway, and when they brought you through, I said, "Do you need any assistance?" Because
I was kind of out of it. So yeah, so we did meet. Okay. But yeah, it was a blur after that because we literally packed our stuff and we were out the door within an hour after that.
I have 2 kids with epilepsy. I totally understand. That's just the way it is. I remember somebody came and grabbed me and was like, hey, there's a kid with epilepsy that's had a medical emergency. We're getting the family right now. Can you help? And I went, where are they? And they said, we think dad's in line for Lackey. And I took off to the room and was like, hey, do you need help?
Yeah, that was a memorable way to end a convention, but like,
yeah, no kidding. Do you remember the Star Wars family that had the young man in the oh god, Kit Fisto costume?
yeah, I seem to vaguely remember that.
That was us. That was me.
Okay. Okay, so Doc was right. We did probably meet each other in passing.
Yeah, I was
yeah,
gonna say it's Virginia's a small con community. Everybody knows everybody.
But yeah, that's one of the things that sometimes it's kind of cool when you get to meet those kinds of people to actually interview them that had like one of the ones that was Winders was the guy that did the Drez books, the Dritz
Dritz. Yes, Dritz is amazing.
We've tried to get him on, and we promised Winder he could come back for that interview, but he's just so busy.
Okay, if you manage to get R.A. Salvatore on, you might have to have Shade on as a fan geek out guest in the background so you can be going, Dritz is amazing.
I made it through the handlers enough that I have his personal email address, but I don't want to abuse it, so I only check in periodically. Hey, are you less busy?
Because of those books,
well, he is a really busy guy.
Every D&D I play as a dark elf.
There you go.
You know what? I love Drow. Drow are amazing. We did an entire series, my husband and I, of books that will never be published because they're all D&D universe and we can't get the approval to use all of their terms and everything.
Yeah, I'll read the shit out of that.
So before we
it's pretty intense.
Before we pivot, dear listener, if you've survived this far and you haven't had a drunken coma like we haven't, which means we clearly need to drink more, Nick, we need you to tell us in the comment section who your favorite superhero is, what authors, living or dead, you'd want us to interview. Like, you get to participate in this too, people. Do your part. Get to typing.
So, now we come to the shameless plug section.
Okay.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, we do shameless plugs, but you were going to read in a commercial about Page to Stage, so I thought you were going to get ready to launch it. Like, we don't have a commercial for you yet.
We can do that as the first shameless plug. I'm perfectly happy to do that.
Yeah, launch them shits.
So if you're not familiar with what Cisca and I do at Dragon Con, the insanity that is the Page to Stage costume contest, yes, it did happen this year. No, there is currently no video, but that doesn't mean that won't change. That said, we hope you enjoy this excerpt from all of the stuff we were able to put together. So you can take a look at what we did this year. Come see us next year with the amazing Open Division, the amazing Invitational Division, and check us out at Dragon Con 2023.
Oh, and before we move on, if you're an author and you created awesome people that are on your pages of your books, Doc, get me a link to that, and we'll throw it in the show notes. When are they closing that for voting to get your name on the approved list?
October 1st.
So
it's too late by the. Yeah, it'll be after this is out.
But wait,
next year.
No. Stop. We can leave the link active so that people can submit their stuff so we can plug it on our social media platform for the Open Division, even though the Invitational Division characters will already be selected. Because trust me, you don't want me trying to describe your characters.
So the Invitational Division opens on October 1st and runs until September 30th of the next year. I'm sorry, Invitational Division. So
the Invitation Nomination Division section.
Yes. So if you have a character that you have written who is very distinguishable from all other characters in the world, meaning they have a costume or a look that is difficult to replicate by things that you can buy off the rack at a store, then you can submit them to the dcpagetostage.com to the Invitational Division so that our character selection committee can take a look at your character, decide whether it meets the criteria.
Nick was showing off his flaming ass.
What?
It was a comic book. It wasn't literally my flaming ass. That's after Tuesday because it's Taco Tuesday.
There's a Deadpool reference in here that I want to throw out, but I'm going to skip it because authors, you get to send us a character and we pick 40 of them. 40.
So nice. So
those 40 characters go up for 20 international costumers, meaning the 20 best in the world to choose from to make a costume to bring to the Page to Stage. You want your work out there, this is a good way to get it there.
So another shameless plug is that we are doing the Blasters Blades. Bayonet Books has an anthology coming out at Christmas. Santa as Special Operator was the theme. It's a meme that floats around every Christmas, and I always joked that I would do that anthology, and I posted that this past Christmas, and I had a bunch of people say, I will literally pre-order it now if you write that anthology. So we put it together, and I was drinking, and I said, hey, Nick, let's write a story together, and I voluntold him. And so there is...
Here's a retelling of how that went. Sounds awesome. Let's do this.
Right?
And same color as
our beta reader described it as Santa Claus meets the Old Testament.
Oh, God.
And went to Ranger School.
And then went to Ranger School, yep. So we have some behind the scenes that we don't just talk together. Sometimes we co-write. And then Doc and I wrote for the Storming Area 51, the anthology that we wrote that the FBI cock-blocked on. And yes, I ruined everything. And that'll be coming out in audio. She hooked us up with a friend of hers. Who's the lady? Autumn? What's her name?
Autumn.
If people wanted to hire this lovely person, what is her name?
Tumnal Audio, I think, is what you needed to look up.
She narrated for us. We're going through the proofs now. Only like 6 months late. Life happens. Doc's been patient, so that'll be coming out in the near future as well. So we sometimes write together when we're bored or drunk. No apologies necessary.
Hey guys, look, my wine's the same color as my hair.
I noticed that you accessorized. I'm proud of you.
That's all right. I got my favorite Christmas sweater on. Oh, wait, you can't tell who it
Grogu.
is. Grogu.
So
I am a Star Wars fanatic from way back. One of these days, JR, we need to do Star Wars trivia podcast, and it's me versus you.
I'm horrible at trivia. I've got a brain damage excuse.
No,
JR, sit down.
You versus
No,
Nick,
man.
because
It's
JR
you
and
and
I.
I. It's you and I.
Oh, you think you're a Star Wars trivia buff, do you?
Yeah. TV 1978 reporting.
Okay, but where did that come from?
Well, it's from the origination of TK.
No, I understand that, but where did the original TK number come from?
THX 1138.
Taco Nights. I don't know.
Spielberg's, or not Spielberg, but Lucas's, well, yeah, his first film. I have a copy of it. Robert Duvall's the man in that.
Yep. All right,
So,
so you and I
hold
might
on.
be able to actually have a game. That would be cool. Most people refuse to go up against me in Star Wars trivia. You remember the Star Wars Trivial Pursuit that came out back in like the late
Oh
90s?
my God, my friends hated me when I pulled that out.
Yes, exactly. Every time I pull it out, the entire family goes, "No, it's not relevant anymore." And I go, "I don't care. We're playing."
They're like, how do you know this shit? I'm like,
Okay, so
I have much of a life,
obviously
I
I
love
need
Star
to
Wars.
get one of you to give me the copy so I can like ask the questions because I'm not going to try and keep up with you.
Oh, I am not sending you my copy. That's like,
oh, absolutely not.
I don't
No, that's gifted.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it to you. I
I'll
love
have
you,
to
but
see if
no,
I can find it. I'll find it.
no. You.
All
You'll
right,
find
that's
it.
getting awkward. Let's move on to the next question.
It'll be
Okay,
completely
so
operational when your friends arrive.
the next question is one of those that I'm absolutely dying to know, but I'm a little concerned y'all are going to find a little too invasive.
Not
So
me.
tell me
I
if
like
I-
the open book.
Here, you ready?
Nick
Go
likes
ahead.
invasive. He gets off on it.
Nick
I
likes
do.
His 40th
I
birthday was his proudest moment.
All right.
No, it wasn't.
So
Well, yeah.
the person that you have personally met that you enjoyed meeting the most and why? The author, celebrity,
You mean affiliated with the podcast or just in general?
in general.
Doc, you go first while we think.
I would say the first one that came to mind was I met George Takei, and I loved it because he told my friend to be nicer to me because he was picking on me, and that I was also out of his league.
Wow.
Now that is epic because being designated by George Takei as somebody as out of somebody's league, that truly means you are.
So I got one. I met Ed McMahon when I was in high school.
That's awesome.
He did not come to my house to bring me any money, but I was going to a JROTC event. On the way back, we stopped by Notre Dame, and he happened to be passing through, so he was in the student bookstore. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's Ed McMahon!" And I'm like, "Who the hell is Ed McMahon?" Because I don't really follow like pop culture, like. And so he tapped me on the shoulder and he goes, "I'm Ed McMahon, young man." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I went back to looking at the books. And he goes, "Would it help you to know that, I was a pilot in the Navy once upon a time?" And I'm like, "Oh," suddenly I was interested. And so he's like, "Wow, I don't think I've ever had anyone who didn't care who I was. Let's go. I'll buy you." And so he bought me my first latte.
That's awesome.
And so we sat at the student coffee shop at Notre Dame, and he told me about being a Navy pilot. And then when we were leaving, because I was the commanding officer of my ROTC, don't mock me, Nick, but he sent his people with a bunch of.
I don't mock JRTC cadets.
So he sent his people with a bunch of like free shirts and stuff for the rest of the cadets.
I feel like Nick's treating this like low-hanging fruit, so let's get invasive like a prostate exam. Nick, what about you?
I got drunk with Peter Mayhew.
Who?
That's awesome. All right, what's your Peter Mayhew story?
Okay, so it was Celebration 2. Now, Celebration 2 has a bunch of me getting drunk with a bunch of actors from, the Holy Trilogy. But Peter Mayhew stuck out the most because that dude can pound, or he could pound. I miss him. But every time, like just sporadically throughout the night, and I was drinking with him and his wife and his handler, and I had a couple of other 501st dudes with me, and I'm trying to keep up with Peter Mayhew. He's like 7 feet freaking tall. I can't keep up with him. We like trying to keep up with Andre the Giant. I'm surprised I didn't die. I might have died for like 2 seconds, but I got back. And he would pop up. He'd pop up out of his chair. He's like, "I'm a rock star." And I'm like, "No, you're Chewbacca, but yeah, you're a rock star too." And he was wearing this vest. He was wearing a vest with Chewbacca playing the drums because apparently Peter Mayhew played the drums. And he would pop every so often during our drunken stupors. Like I had to be carried back to my hotel room, trying to keep up with Peter Mayhew. My second favorite interaction was with Julian Glover, Lizard 6 from The Empire Strikes Back. And the shield generally be down in moments. You may begin your landing. And that was a little bit more refined. That was like the first night I was there because him and the guy that got choked out by Vader, and who was the other one? There was a third admiral or general there. Oh, Piet. Piet was there. Admiral Piet.
Yeah.
And they're all drinking red wine. I'm not a wine drinker. Somehow I stumbled my drunk little biker scout ass over there. I'm still in costume, except for my helmet. And he's like, "You're not from our movie. Why don't you have a seat, young man?" And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Fangirling here." And we're drinking red wine. And then they excuse themselves and, they're sharing stories about like what it was like filming and things like that. That was really cool. But Peter Mayhew definitely sticks out because that was the night I tried to outdrink Peter Mayhew and I frickin' lost. And I lost hard.
The book or series that got you into reading, the thing that you credit with giving you a love of reading. Cisca.
The Rowan by Anne McCaffrey. Terror in the
What was
Hive saga. What?
What was it about it?
So the Rowan is a character who, while very young, is her family undergoes a natural disaster and she's the only one left from her settlement. So there's nobody there around her that knows her. And I kind of really identified that because of being in the States, my hometown, gone, essentially. Might as well have been gone for me at 8 years old. And just her story after that was also really good. That was kind of the beginning that got me started with it. But there was a lot of wisdom and goodness in that character, and it's definitely one of those series where there's no real super villain. It's almost like a biography, the first book of it. It starts with her as a young, like maybe 6 years old, and goes till she's an adult. And then there's an alien thing and stuff, but there's more to her life. They kind of show her growing and becoming a fully fledged, rounded human being, not just. There's a phase where she's a workaholic because that's all she knows. She was a ward of the state, and she was taught. So she was a telekinetic and telepath, and taught to use her abilities for the betterment of humankind, which is great. But she's definitely like a workaholic from a young age, and trying to find that work-life balance eventually is part of what happens in the later part of the book. But I loved it. It was what got me into reading.
How old were you when you read that?
I was in 6th grade.
Nice.
My mother gave me the book and told me that I could watch she thought I was taking sick, told me I could watch TV when I was done with the first chapter. Newsflash, it's a 350 plus page book and there's only 3 chapters.
Got you. Got him.
Have her own writing style. What about you, Joe?
One, that's dirty.
I mean, hats off to your mom. So I really, the first book that was a proper novel that I remember reading. I mean, obviously, you know, I grew up with the Hardy Boys and the Boxcar Kids and all the kids stuff. But the first like proper grown-up novel that I read was something by Stephen King. I think it was The It. When I was in 3rd grade, I did it just to piss the teacher off because I wasn't supposed to be reading that apparently, which is why I chose to read it. And so at that point in time, my mom was like, if you want to read grown-up stories, all you had to do was ask. And she handed me the Belgariad series. And that was actually kind of cool because as a kid, you know, growing up, I think by the first book, he was about my age, learning that he could do magic. And so that kind of hooked me from there. And I realized that sometimes dealing with life. So I was a Navy brat. Dad was gone a lot. He took extra sea duty, volunteered for it, so that way we could not move around as much as the traditional sort of military experience. You appreciate that as an adult. It's kind of hard to process as a kid that, you know, he's volunteering to go away and leave you. So for me, reading was an escape. And, you know, sports season only lasted so long. You had to figure out something to do when you weren't knocking heads on a, you know, sports field. And so for me, that was, you know, hiding in my room and reading, which I would never have told anyone because that wasn't cool, but I did like to read the nerd stuff.
Now you make it sound like you're old enough to have been post or pre-internet generation.
I was pre-internet. I remember when we sacrificed robots to get online.
Yeah, funny story about that. No, that's for another edition where you guys bring me back. What about you, Nick?
I am old enough to remember when you could scam the CD companies for free CDs and then cancel.
Oh my God, I wasn't the only one who did that. Woohoo!
AOL. Yeah.
I found when I was cleaning my room the other day my Blockbuster membership card. Probably should put it in a museum.
Yeah.
How long has it been since you cleaned your room? That actually terrible.
Well, it was just at the bottom of the desk where you never go. You just pile stuff on top of it.
The junk drawer?
Yes, the junk drawer. I actually cleaned my junk drawer. Who knew what was in there?
Wait. People actually clean out their junk drawers?
Well, that's where you find treasures like
organize the chaos in the junk drawer because, like, no, I still need this.
This is news to me. This is not a thing that I do. Oh, wait. No, I did just clean out my junk drawer. But I just moved, so I didn't have a choice. I had to move back to the farm, so I had to clean it out.
There you go.
What about you, Nick?
Oh, it's got to be when the school forced me to read Ethan Frome. I mean, Jesus, that was such a... No, it's not. I have 2 things that kind of solidified my love of reading. One comic book, one novel. Steak. Jesus Christ. Okay. Stop.
Sorry, I
never read the comments.
My husband's throwing them at me.
Well, that's good. So the first thing that I read that really kind of like stuck with me, Daredevil. Frank Miller's run on Daredevil, the Man Without Fear run.
Yeah.
Loved it. Dark, gritty, showed me a different shade of the superhero genre before I got into Watchmen.
Watchmen's epic.
Oh, God. Alan Moore, God King. That and V for Vendetta. I discovered V for Vendetta after I just like, oh, you like Alan Moore? You're going to love this. And I just went down the rabbit hole of like just dystopian, dark, deconstructed heroes, which is a lot what goes on in my comic book universe. It's like they're not all noble. They're not, they're not always heroic. Sometimes they'll stab you in the back.
So are you saying you specialize in anti-heroes?
I do. And in cosmic heroes, I'm kind of dabbling. I like fallible characters. I think they're more interesting, and it does
humanity.
right, and it forces me to create a more interesting villain because, as I've always thought, the villain is supposed to be the most important part of your story, the hero's journey. So you have a very intricate villain that people can almost relate to. That makes your hero more interesting because he has to rise up, and he has to face certain moral battles that, if he was just fighting your villain of the week, he ain't gonna get that. All right, so that was with the comic book world, and then I was in Egypt in 2000, and one of the books in the library was Frank Herbert's Dune. I'd seen the movies, but here I am in a vast desert on an outpost reading Dune and the sandworms and the Fedayeen and the Fremen, all of that stuff. Just it really hit me hard there, just based on the. Jesus is asleep. This is the third time. I really got into the story because of the environment I was in. I could relate. It's like, here I am in a desert. I'm just waiting for, a sandworm to show up, showing worm sign, lightning, things like that, And,
they do have shamals like in Dune.
Yeah.
Huh?
I can imagine being in the desert, looking out on the horizon, just expecting to see Shahazud.
Yeah.
Dude, that would have been epic. I guarantee you, not one of you have ever heard of the book series that got me into reading.
You can try us. You got a 1/3 chance.
Book. I'll be amazed if you've heard of the author. So his name is Tad Williams.
Oh, the Green Tower?
No, Tail Chaser's song.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I'm out.
I was overly obsessed with cats. I mean, it's a thing, No, I was totally overly obsessed with cats when I was a kid. And so my mom was like, we need to get her out of just hanging out with the neighborhood cats and being the local crazy cat lady at 7 years old. And so here's a book with a big orange tabby on the front of it. She'll read this. Oh my God, it's epic. And then from there, I jumped into Other Worlds, which is an amazing series. And then my mom realized, because in Roanoke, there used to be this little store called the Paperback Exchange.
Oh, I've been there.
Yes, you take your books and trade them in, and they would give you credit based on the cover price of the book. So if the book was $2, they'd give you 25 cents. And so I would take in all the books that I had read and get up all my credit. And if I didn't have enough to get a book, I'd go into their little comic book corner and I would buy up all the comic books, because their used comic books were 5 cents a piece.
Oh, yeah, it's a deal.
Yeah, so that's how I got into X-Men and She-Hulk and Hulk and
Doctor Strange. That's how I got into Doctor Strange, was the penny bin.
Yep, exactly.
Okay,
I got his first issue. It wasn't his first appearance, but I got his first issue in the 70s in the penny bin.
Yeah.
Nick.
And so
Mara.
Oh, yeah.
Are you old enough to remember when Pizza Hut did the Readers Challenge where they'd give you a free personal pan pizza?
Yes.
You got the book.
I remember dining in Pizza Hut.
Yes, with the salad bar.
I read so many books one summer. I won a summer reading challenge with Roanoke City Public Schools, and they gave me 25 pizza coupons. My family is vegetarian. I was raised vegetarian. I got to use one of those coupons. I still have the other 24. I still have them in this book. It's hysterical. But
I got a free pan pizza for being it
was called Book It.
Reader.
It was the Book It program. And so, but yeah, so trading in all of my paperbacks and stuff, and then taking comics back, because you could trade comics back, but you could trade them back for a penny. And so I walked into Paperback Exchange one day and traded in 200 comics that I wish to God I'd kept, because if I'd known what they were going to be worth. But I traded in 200 comics and got $2. And that was the first Star Wars book that I ever bought. And that was, I'm going to forget the name of it, but it was the one where Han and Leia ends up on Dathomir, and you meet all of the witches of Dathomir, and you find out about the origin of the Rancors and everything else. And I was like, that's it, I'm sold. And
all right,
that was all.
Nick, What was
Yeah.
the first Star Wars book you read? For me, it was Rogue Squadron, 96, Michael Stackpool.
Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Ooh, that's
It
a
was
good one
the
too.
first novelization after the original Star Wars movie. It takes place in between A New Hope and Empire.
Which one was it?
Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
I
Or
have not
Splinter
read.
in the Mind's Eye.
There's another one that they had that came out between those two. That's the one that I'm talking about, where she ends up on Dathomir, and I cannot remember the name of it for love nor money nor God. But the next,
It's not Shadow. Shadow of the Empire.
Shadows of the Empire came much later.
Yeah.
But no,
That
I
came
was
out in the 90s.
yeah. And then, of course, I after that, I got into the Han Solo trilogy, the Corellia trilogy.
Yeah.
And I loved that. Then I got introduced to Timothy Zahn through, of course, the
Grand Admiral
Thrawn.
Thrawn.
And then, of course, I kept bouncing back and forth. And then they introduced Mara Jade. And everybody's like, oh, you chose Mara because you like Aquaman. You chose Mara because you like Mara Jade. No, I chose Mara because I got tired of people mispronouncing my first name. That happened long before. But man,
I'm sorry, she's
awesome.
Mara Jade Skywalker. She always will be.
Right. Is it not amazing to have a character whose name you share that you love? It's like, oh, yeah, mine. I mean, it's one letter off, but so what? I'll claim it anyway.
Why you're always evil?
Because evil is good.
What'd you say? Oh, she's just sad because she's never read any of the Star Wars universe.
No.
So
Mara Jade is awesome.
I have too read some of the Star Wars universe.
You have?
Which ones?
I don't remember the names of them.
There's probably Dark Empire, Grand Admiral.
So the underlying theme of the second part of this interview has been the Pepperidge Farm remembers memes. We were there. We were there in the beginning.
Remember.
Totally there. So, Star Wars universe has amazing epic authors, but look at what Timothy Zahn, Kevin J. Anderson, and Michael Stackpole have built for themselves out of empires just based off of what they started in an extended universe.
Well, and Zahn also did a lot of the adaptations for the prequel movies, which
he did. Yeah, and now he's.
If you've read any of the prequel books, they're so much more interesting. Like if they would have went with Zahn's vision of the prequels, they'd be on par with the original trilogy.
But they didn't have any good source material to pull from. Just ask the execs.
It's because they hate the source material.
They don't like the extended universe because it was better than what they got. I mean, I'm sorry.
Blasphemy.
Am I the only one that sat there watching episode 7 and episode 8 going, dear God, they are ripping off Jason and Jana, and if these two end up being sister and brother, just not twins, I'm going to scream?
Yes.
Like, I just wanted to strangle somebody, and then they reveal her as what she is. And I'm not going to give spoilers or anything, because, some people haven't watched.
It's been years. You can spoil those movies. I hope you do.
Really? Okay. So the fact that she's freaking Palpatine's daughter, do you know how much I wanted to strangle something? I'm like, excuse me. Can we just talk about the fact that they just drugged this asshole? Sorry, they just drugged this.
No, you can say that. You said shit earlier.
I mean, I'm telling you, they drug him out of the depths of no, this character's been gone for like too many episodes, no build up, even remotely indicating that he might be coming back. Nothing in anything that actually gave you an idea that Snook might be, no. They just pop it out from nowhere. I'm like, no, that's too convenient. That's lazy writing.
Thrawn would have been a better villain for that trilogy.
It would have been. I'm telling you, they didn't even bother to introduce Thrawn. The fact that he's only shown up in Rebels, I think it is, bothers the crap out of me.
No, he's been mentioned in The Mandalorian as well.
Oh, that's true. He has been mentioned.
So we're getting Thrawn finally.
Am I the only one that was a little irritated by Book of Boba Fett, though?
Yeah, but that's a cosplay I could pull off now with my fatness.
See, I liked the beginning of Boba Fett, but the way that it ended, I'm just like.
All right, but can we talk about, speaking of cosplay and fatness, that making fun of someone cosplaying a character they didn't fit the stereotypical physique of?
That is not okay.
No, hold on. But this is both of you stop. Listen, this is important. That let Mikey Mason write the best song of all times, "Too Fat to Troop."
I'm gonna tell you right now, and I love Mikey Mason. Mikey and I are friends. I've known him for what?
I don't know.
Decade
years.
Probably. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, body shaming in anything is not okay. Body shaming in cosplay is, pardon my language, you can bleep this out later, absolute fucking bullshit. And I believe
Okay.
this so wholeheartedly that when Cisca went, hey, we're going to put this thing called Victoria's Secret. Look at this really cool flash mob viral video. I want to put this up somewhere so that cosplayers know it's okay to be who they are. And I went, let's take that shit to the Dragon Con Masquerade. And we did. If you haven't seen it, it's out there. In fact, I will send it to you so you can watch it. In fact,
I can't wear my biker scout anymore, which we've named George and put him on a mannequin.
You know what?
It was tailor fitted. Everything was tailor fitted between me and my mom. It was a great bonding experience. She taught me how to sew. She goes, Nick, I'm tired of sewing up all your crazy ass ideas. And I'm like, well, teach me.
I think I would have liked your mom.
I became the Jedi seamstress during college. Got a cease and desist from Lucasfilm.
I will be more than happy to help you modify your biker scout to fit you.
No, we're doing Rogue One, baby.
Oh, I love it. All right, I'll help
We're
you.
doing the Shore Trooper.
Okay, so you're coming to Dragon Con next year?
I'm going to submit some things where you can't get rid of me, and I'll be there.
Okay, awesome. So you and I will do a Star Wars cosplay next year together on one of the days.
Dig it.
Awesome. Because it does not matter.
Can be Princess Leia.
Yeah.
She was Ventress.
Solo this year.
Me and Stabby were. She was Ventress our first year when she moved in after we got married.
Love Ventress. Ventress is so awesome.
But she didn't want to shave her head, so she took her own. She shaved the side of her head, being a cancer survivor, and it was 5 years since she survived cervical cancer. So she shaved the side of her head because that's where most of her hair was lost. And we decided, she's like, hey, I'll be Ventress. I'm like, all right, cool. I got Jedi robes and a saber. I'll be retired Obi-Wan. I had the beard, and I can do the voice, and I have the lightsaber. So I'm like, let's do it. And then the Obi-Wan's lightsaber died, and then I was carrying Kylo Ren's lightsaber the rest of the night.
So
you make it work for what you got. Look, I'm just gonna put it this way: no matter what you look like, no matter what body size you are,
cosplay for everybody.
Cosplay is for everyone. Cosplay your way. And if you don't know what that movement is, go look up the hashtags cosplay your way.
I'm a big proponent of it.
Right now, the guys that started that,
I support it.
Yeah. Walter Dean and Bar Fox started that movement. There's a documentary out that they did. It is wonderful. Everyone, no matter what you look like, what your body type is, what character it is you love, you should be that character because you love it and not because anybody tells you.
One of my favorite cosplayers is Ivy Doom Kitty.
I didn't hear that.
Ivy Doom Kitty is one of my favorite cosplayers.
Yeah.
And I was friends with her in the beginning when she wasn't well known, when she was going with the body positivity movement in cosplay. That and I just found her absolutely fucking stunning. So, Ivy, if you're hearing this, which you probably aren't, add me back as a friend. Come on now. Come on, girl. But no, she's awesome. And
I see. You're now helping Nick find friends on Facebook.
No, I got plenty of friends. Find me on Instagram. I need more friends there. I got 5,000 friends on Facebook. I need to get 2,000 up on Instagram.
He said that one episode
on Twitter. I would like to break 1,000 on Twitter.
Okay, I'm just gonna tell you right now. I have like 850 on Facebook, and I'm going, who can I delete?
So Nick made
that. I sell everybody shit.
So Nick I get up to like 800, I start deleting people because I just don't know how to keep track of that many people.
You don't. You just keep going.
You don't.
So Nick said that once in an episode that he needed more people on Instagram. So now every time I'm on Instagram, I spam him with memes from other people and just like so he's.
Yeah, you want me to add people? You want me to add to other people's stuff? No, add me, dude.
Now we need to plug Cisca's Instagram and Cisca's TikTok because she's got them.
Oh,
you went to TikTok?
Find me on TikTok at Mando_agent.
Plugged his OnlyFans. We should plug her TikTok.
I never gave my OnlyFans name up. That's secretive.
Nick Garber.
Right.
So for those who aren't super fans of cosplaying and aren't super fans of Star Trek or Star Wars, what if you could see a different franchise get the movie treatment and done right, like honoring the source material? What would you guys want to see on the big screen?
They'll never.
I think I know what Doc's going to say. That fantasy story.
I want more Firefly. Man.
No, they can leave my Pern alone.
I love Firefly. that comment, Nick. I would love to see more Firefly, but at this point, I think it's too hard to go back and do it with the original cast.
It is.
And so I would rather see expansions in the universe with an entirely new cast than I want them to go back.
I want to see the Brown Coat War. I want to see that war.
I want to see the Brown Coat War.
And you got to see that in the originally planned pilot, which was Serenity.
Yeah, I mean, I would really like to see them do something. You know, Marvel owns everything right now, right? So when it comes to Marvel Cinematic Universe, they've finally gotten back most of their properties and they can do stuff now. I keep hearing we're going to see Deadpool in an MCU movie, and I keep hoping that's going to be the case. But honestly, what I really want to see is them to go back and redo the Dark Phoenix saga well, because their original Dark Phoenix saga sucked. And as a huge fan of Jean Grey, she deserves that story to be done well.
That is a 9-movie arc.
Yeah, and then I'd really like
9-movie arc.
That gorgeous Wakanda arc that brings Storm into Wakanda. I'd like to see that. I'd love.
Oh, with her marriage to T'Challa.
Yeah, the marriage to T'Challa.
But the MCU's killing off T'Challa.
Yeah, I know, and so
they're stepping on their own foot.
Deal with. So that's like an alternate timeline thing, and they'd have to recast T'Challa at that point. But I think they could do it if they did it well, especially since they've established the alternate timelines in the other universes. You know, you've got all the science of Doctor Strange, make Doctor Strange an extra person in it. I'm thinking, you know, all of those, I'd love to see X Factor done well. I like what they did with New Mutants, but there's a lot more story there to tell. You guys are going to sit here and go, good God, is all she's into comic books? The answer is no.
Say the same shit about me. You're good.
You know, it's a thing, but
I won't kink shame.
You know, there's
never kink shame here.
I'm still trying to edit Boinking Beasties. It's up here on the screen right now. I got to cut all of the PowerPoint presentation in that Tamsin did. So I got panelists down here in this bottom third, and then I got this big top section where they got a PowerPoint presentation over their heads. Makes it look like they all got ideas. It's hysterical. But no, I like Dragon Wars. You guys are familiar with a movie that was Matthew McConaughey and
Rain of Fire.
Yeah, Rain of Fire. I was trying to remember the other guy's name, and his name just dropped out.
He used to be Batman, Christian Bale.
No, I don't remember him as Batman. I remember him as the kid that made me drool in Newsies.
I also am old enough to remember him in Newsies.
Everyone knows how old I am.
You're under 50.
I already knew how old you were.
Yeah. I'd love to see Dragon
Wars. I'm 44, so I remember Newsies.
I do love the Dritz books. I would love to see Dritz get a movie treatment.
And Henry Cavill would have been the perfect Dritz.
Yeah. Okay, so I totally just
right now.
a lot of time with that. So, dude.
No, that's good. It's the 200th episode, so we should probably go to 2 hours.
I thought you were going to say 200 minutes. I'm like, dude, no, wait, I'm good. I'm good. I got a box. I'm good.
This episode is brought to you by our fine friends at Alcohol Anonymous.
No, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't admit I have a problem.
Things you should do. And we're just going to talk about like classic comic stories.
That could actually be like a separate episode of what we think certain franchises should do if they did it our way.
Yes.
We could be the Burger King episode.
It'll be awesome.
Look, I got my Loki Gator right here. He's my bestie. I did a
Scarlet Witch. I loved him in the Loki series.
Yeah, I did Scarlet Witch as a Disney princess last year, and he was my buddy.
Technically, she's a Disney princess. So is Ellen Ripley.
Thank you. Go look up those pictures. Disney Princess Wanda, Dragon Con Masquerade.
I would just like them to do a Star Wars movie, and I know I said we were going to try to get away from Star Wars, but sometimes you got to go back to your roots. But I'd like to see them where the stormtroopers were actually like you've got the first movie where they've got the tight shot grouping, and he says only a stormtrooper would be that accurate, and then they spent the rest of every movie ever created showing what like a klutz farm these yahoos were. So I'd like to see them as I want to see them as the badasses they were supposed to be.
He was talking about Dune, and I'm a huge fan of Dune. For those who don't know, I have managed to alienate all of the authors that I love by telling them how much I love their books. But I would actually love to see Winds of Dune. But
That would be a
because
good-
it's really good, and think about everything they do with Stilgar in that one. I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's a good one. I know they're redoing those movies. I don't know how much they plan on moving into what Brian Herbert and KJA have done.
Yeah.
But I would like to see
don't
more
know.
of those stories.
I think they're going to probably try and knock out some of Frank's other works, Children of Dune,
Yeah.
Dune Messiah.
Yeah.
All great stories, but I think like Frank really blew his wad in Dune. That's when he really got in depth in establishing the Orange Catholic Bible, all the houses, of the. I've been drinking.
Six Gun Tarot, Rod Belcher,
Yeah.
R.S. Belcher, Six Gun Tarot. That would be an epic movie.
I would love to just see it. I would watch a 2-hour movie just based on the Fremen. To be honest with you.
Yeah, no, the Fremen are amazing. But no, talking about other series, I would love to see the Six Gun Tarot done. I would love to see, and that's R.S. Belcher. I would love to see a movie based on. I'm gonna forget what the name of the book is now. Something Windless. It's help me out, Cisca. What's
You're
his
familiar
name?
with the series, love.
Jim Butcher?
He's always at Dragon Con. He was on a panel. He wore that strappy shirt on a panel. He was going to be one of our judges, and then his schedule didn't work.
Butcher.
Jim Butcher, the Windlass's Aeronaut. I would love to see that one turned into a book. It's got a phenomenal steampunk character named Miss Folly in it that I'd love to see on the big screen.
I would want to see the Messenger Saga.
Ooh,
Terry Mixon and Terry Maggart and Jan Chaney.
Testament.
I was actually going to say the Last Hunter series because I'm really digging that right now by Chaney and the other Terry. We put Chaney on the spot when we interviewed him.
Other Terry better. Wrong. You're wrong.
But we interviewed him and we asked.
Are awesome.
No, but we interviewed Chaney and we asked him who his favorite Terry was because he writes with like 3 of them.
Oh God.
And he wouldn't answer. He said the what was it? The Terry that was the Spider-Man in one of the universes. Terry.
Not Terry. Toby
Maguire.
No. He said the character's name from one of the Spider-Man in an alternate universe spinoffs was Terry. Was a Terry. I'm gonna Google it because we checked him at the time and he was right.
Actually, I remember giving him and telling him that he should just say what my mother used to say, the one that he hadn't seen the most recently.
Are you talking about a movie that
There's a reason I have issues. Mommy, which one's your favorite child? The one I haven't seen the most recent.
There's Tobey Maguire. There's Andrew Garfield, my favorite. Tom Holland, second favorite.
Tom Holland's my favorite. I'm telling you what, if you have not done this yet, go Google Tom Holland lip sync battle Umbrella. Oh my God, you will never have another favorite.
And it's awesome. And the costuming is brilliant.
Life will never be the same.
Is that the one where he's in like the female tux bodysuit thing?
Yes.
One of my favorite. Man, he made
Well, if you want to know what Chaney said, because I can't remember and Google is failing me, just go listen to the episode, people.
Go back and listen to all the episodes.
So
Peter, and Miles. Those are your on.
No, he said
it's Miles Morales, Peter Parker, and Peter Parker. There's only 2 Peter Parkers.
No, I thought he said it was a different. It was a Spider-Man from one of the alternate universes.
No, I thought
and it was an alternate universe, and it was that was brought over, and the character's name, not the actor, was named Terry.
Earth 666 is also named Peter.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm not a huge Spider-Man fan, so obviously
Peter B. Parker.
But yeah, I think there's lots of books that could make good movies. The problem, I think, right now is I just don't trust Hollywood or Amazon or Netflix to get it right. They have so much where they're worried about the modern
tired
thing.
of them trying to reboot everything, though. Are you guys not tired of this? Like,
yes, but
yes.
I'm not going to watch the Rings of Power out of spite.
I'm like,
So-
can you please stop rebooting? There's so much new creative stuff that
Okay.
has not been done yet. Pick something and do it.
So I'm going to be the guy of controversy here, Nick. You're going to hate me, but I actually don't think Rings of Power is that bad. I'm only one episode behind. The only thing that got me, no, hold on. The only thing that got me is it felt more like a Dragon Age origins story than it did a Tolkien story.
And I've heard all that. Like it's not.
But I'm not
based
seeing the politics in it that everyone was complaining about. I think it was
No,
a
I don't-
knee-jerk
I don't
reaction.
care about that shit. I
Everybody's
don't
got to
care about
insert
that.
politics into everything. That's just the way the world works now.
No. I do love
So
the board.
I think there's
That is
only
why
one.
they are.
It's awesome.
Will learn to love pineapple on pizza.
I was about to say that was the only unforgivable crime that should be a capital crime is pineapple on
Only-
pizza.
No, my favorite
pineapple
pizza in
only
the world
with-
is pineapple black olive, onion, and ham.
So for those of you who are ethnically Hawaiian,
all together.
I'm up in the air on whether you get a pass on the Hawaiian pizza thing. But everyone else, death penalty.
You're gonna
Yes,
send me to the death box to the death penalty box because you don't think I should put pineapple on pizza?
No,
I mean, I'm
no.
sure I could convince you of the error of your ways. You will be evangelized.
No,
No,
I'm
you
gonna
don't
tell you
send
right
me
now.
the
Okay.
death box for
No,
that.
there's only one remaining question to ask in this podcast then.
Uh-oh.
Haggis, yes or no?
I've had it. It's acceptable. I've done snuff too. And I played the bagpipes for the Robert Burns Society.
Nerd.
I'm so sorry. I live in an alternate culture where when you say I've done snuff, bad things happen.
I was going, wait, what?
Snuff is in tobacco that you sniff through your nose. Old school.
Yeah, the
Okay,
Brits
because
didn't
there's
all
understand that
their
Copenhagen
own
makes this
snuff means something else.
snuff film. Also meant to.
If you don't know,
Lots
go
of
look up
things,
Kevin
tobacco
Bacon. He
is
even did a
not
movie
one
on
of
it.
them.
Yeah.
All right then. So about those Cowboys.
No Cowboys. Good God, you're
Bengals.
Virginia.
No, so I'm old enough to remember when the Cowboys were winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl, and if you
That
wanted
was
to
in
change the subject,
1991, dude. That's
okay,
the
but
same
if you
era
wanted to
as
change the
Garber.
subject, you would go, so about those Cowboys, and it would just turn the subject to whatever loser wants to
Okay,
talk about
age
football.
check. How old are you, JR?
I'm 40.
Age check. Nick, how old are you?
44 years old, grown strong, and hurting a lot. My knees hurt.
Okay. No. Now we have to figure out. So what part of 77?
Unborn. But Star Wars, my favorite movie of all damn time, The GOAT, was May 25th, 1977.
Okay, so that means you were born before September of 77.
Yep.
Astrological sign.
Leo.
Oh, shit. I am so sorry.
No,
Scorpio.
we're awesome.
Scorpio, 77.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. So you notice we didn't ask Doc her age because she's the baby of the podcast.
Cool.
So technically, I'm the oldest.
Technically, you are. By
So-
a note.
Ask the lady her age. Duh.
So we can't ask Cisca because she's going to read like she's 10 years younger because she hid from pop culture for the entire 80s.
That's not true. Cisca doesn't read like she's younger because of that. She reads like she's younger because she is just kinder than the rest of us.
Wait, are we talking about the same Doc?
Softer. Softer. With her soft features.
Somebody likes me.
I love you.
I like you.
So the first time, like one of the first, we were only 12 podcasts into our little journey together, Doc and I, and we were FaceTiming and talking, trying to make some plans. And her mom walks by and she goes, "Why are you friends with her? She's weird."
That's why.
So that's why she's so tough.
That would totally be completely different if you talked to my mother. She'd be like, "Why are you talking to her? You must be as insane as she is."
Yes.
Insanity's overrated.
Then my mom would ask, "Introduce me."
Okay, so since we're living vicariously through parents right now, tell us about your upbringing.
Oh my God! This is
Do we have that much time left?
Barbara Walters shit going on right now. Tell me about your past. Tell me about your trauma.
Cisca said, "Come on and interview the three of us about the podcast and who we
Now you
are."
nailed
And
it.
I went,
No. I said
she asked somebody who has multiple degrees in psychology and sociology to come interview you about who you are.
For clarification, I said we're trying to come up with an idea for the 200th episode because our fans didn't give us a good idea.
We tried to go lazy and just do an AMA.
I'll totally throw them under the bus.
Usually our fans do not fail us on these questionnaires. I feel
like
the ball had been dropped.
And I'm like, and she's like, "Oh, just do some behind the scenes stuff. I'll come and do it."
I mean, behind the scenes. And you said, just talk to us about who we are and what we do, and how we started the podcast. I'm like, oh, okay.
Let's talk about Nick's drinking problem.
You asked somebody with a background in psychology and sociology to come interview you. What did you think?
This is how the sausage is made. We asked that question to all our guests. How's the sausage made? We're getting a taste of our own medicine.
All right. So seriously, like out of everything in your entire history and fandom, pick the 3 things that you feel have influenced you the most.
All right. For me, it was my experience in the military. It really affected how I engaged with content. Like, beside the standard, you count bullets when you got a bad guy shooting or good guy, whoever shooting a gun. Like, nope, that bullet doesn't have that many rounds. He should be reloading right now. Like just the emotions behind some of it. I've noticed some series that I used to like when I realized that they're all sociopaths because they just went and killed all these people in war. And I get that it's war, and they're like laughing like it's the end of a G.I. Joe episode.
Yeah.
But there's more to it than that, Nick. You know that. Even you crazy Rangers don't just go like full murder hobo without drinking it away later. There's fallout. And so that's one of the things I noticed, and it changed how, like, what series I was drawn to, what authors I read. Yes. Well, I did take sociology in high school and psychology. So
wait. Which school district were you
in? It was an AP class. So I took it at Tidewater Community.
Oh, I was going to say, it would have to be one of the community college classes because I guarantee you there is no high school in Virginia that teaches those.
The Virginia Beach School District had it as an AP class. You could have taken it at the community college or you could have taken it with class. But the year I was in, my psych teacher actually had an emotional breakdown and had to be institutionalized. So they sent us to community college. I know, irony of ironies, right?
Well, she's a high school teacher, so I can't say I'm.
I mean, if you met me as a high school student, I don't blame her.
No, I'm retarded in that subject.
Stop.
Like,
that is
I
the word
don't
that
have.
does not get used.
All right, I.
No R word.
No.
R
Okay.
word not
So.
okay. Anyway.
Give me another word. Give me another word that's close to what I'm meaning. I don't mean it like that. What? Dumb?
Defective?
No,
Stunted?
We just call it Navy in my family.
Stunted.
Oh!
Bada boom!
Oh, damn.
And this is how I get kicked off my own podcast.
And
I
yet,
gotta give him credit. He
call it
found the opportunity. He took it.
It was the low-hanging fruit. I couldn't help myself.
Emotionally intelligent.
And Nick, now you can understand why I was a corporal 3 times.
banana. Anyway.
Banana.
So
I wish I still had those
Minions?
goggles still. Huh?
Who else loves Minions? That shit's cool.
Yeah. I used to have goggles, the Minion goggles that like banana.
My daughter actually thought that Bob was her boyfriend until she was 4 years old.
No,
nice.
Bob is my boy.
It's bizarre. Like, she would carry him around and go, Bob's friend. And I'd say, Bob's
No,
friend. She'd go,
Penguins
boyfriend.
of Madagascar was good too.
Oh, I love the penguins. They were awesome.
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
They were totally Air
Oh,
Force.
the Spec Ops penguins? They were awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, but they were totally Air Force.
They
I
weren't
mean-
peas. Maybe tack peas. Maybe.
They were definitely
was-
not Skittles.
No, they weren't
Do you know what a
Skittles.
Skittle is?
No.
Oh, okay. So, when you look at an aircraft carrier and you see all the people in different jumpsuits that are helping the planes go on and off the ship,
Yeah.
those are Skittles.
I saw that on Top Gun once. That counts.
That's true. That bar from the first one is like right down the street from my house.
So do you go there and sing the iconic
being on
song?
an aircraft carrier and
Yes.
being on an air base or on a land base?
Do you've got that love and feeling, Nick?
Always.
Are you sure that wasn't just
And
a
now
rat?
it's gone. Gone.
You know, get a cream.
Gone. Whoa,
So I used to pick up
whoa,
chicks
whoa.
at the G bar back on base in Fort Lewis.
Oh, Doc is rolling her eyes at us. I can see her head rolling around at this point.
Doc is desperate to go eat her food.
I love food.
Well, we got
All
6
right,
minutes.
so
2 hour
2
mark.
hours for 200th episode. I feel like they've got their money's worth. And if you've got more questions you want to know, like there's always episode 300, people. We could do this again.
Next time I'll
That'll be 3 hours.
5 and totally psychoanalyze them for you.
Oh, good God. We actually had a guest
You
joke
don't
that
want
they
to
could
get my
do that.
brain.
No.
Mostly
She
Daredevil
knows
and
the
Logan.
guest. She knows that guest.
Wait,
That
which
guest did not like me.
Which
I don't
guest?
think.
What?
Which guest?
Jennifer Blackstream.
It was
Oh.
the Badass Women in Fantasy podcast, and she just basically was like, no, everything you know is wrong, JR.
I mean, she had
I
a
will
point.
tell
But
you you're wrong unless you're using the R word, and then I will tell you you're absolutely wrong because you know what
I
my name.
apologize for that. I didn't mean no disrespect.
I know.
I'm a dumb knuckle dragging cranium slope.
You're fine.
Knuckle dragger.
As long as you never say it around me again, we're all good. You know why? I believe
Okay.
everybody's allowed to make a mistake, be corrected once. If they make it again, it means they forgot. If they make it a third time, it means they don't care.
So,
gotta give me the
Mary, you
better
missed
word.
a perfect opportunity to say, I have a you missed a perfect opportunity to say, I have a very specific set of skills, and I will find you.
Well,
I
no.
do have a
'cause
very specific set of skills. You know what they are?
Languages?
Well,
You
that's
can't
it.
tell us because it's classified. We know this. We've
The
interviewed you.
Class. I can't tell you about my time in the Navy because it's classified.
Damn crypto technicians. Jesus.
I was in prior to 9/11 and I was discharged because of an anxiety disorder.
All right.
That came just before 9/11. So that's as much as I can talk about with my Navy experience. That said, I have a very specific set of skills that I have fostered since getting away from languages and the Navy.
Is it?
I'm actually an educational and disabilities advocate. I have multiple degrees in education, psychology, sociology, and all the things that help me figure out how to help people be better people.
She likes
love
biology.
sociology. Yeah.
So in the
sociology.
infantry, we learned that
No,
beer
like
helps us be better people.
Science, she likes it. That's why she doesn't like chemistry.
I love chemistry. I love the chemistry that makes this. But in addition to that, I'm also a farmer.
So for
You're like
our
3 bad days away from becoming the Joker.
so you'll appreciate this, Mira. For our 100th episode, the J.R. Handley Incorporated sent Cisca, because it was a tax write-off, a chemistry cup. It's a booze cup that has the chemical formula for the alcohol that she likes, the wine. It was like the chemical symbol. What's that stuff called? The drawing with the squares and the lines.
There's
Chemical
squares and
crafting.
lines. Are there squigglies too?
There are.
It was. Yeah, there you go. See, you're asking, like, I barely made it through Betty Crocker
does it
calculus.
have sine, cosine, or tangent involved?
No, I don't think so. It's science. I just smile and nod. Again, public school math.
Associated with science. That's why I was making the joke, because she said you don't do math.
The science of whiskey, yes.
Very
That
cool.
was.
I actually have a necklace that I wore around her at Dragon Con, hoping she would pick up on it, and she never did.
The other option was the science
It
of
was a
chocolate.
By everything else you were doing.
It was a serotonin molecule.
Okay.
I was
All right,
distracted
so-
by everything else you were wearing.
Or
Aw,
not
does
wearing.
that
I've
mean
heard
like
about
what
you,
I was
Dragon
wearing?
Con ladies.
No. Saska got on stage as a Viking and danced with me. And then she got on stage, she got on stage with me as a pirate and danced with me. And then I got her on stage as a Viking and got her to dance with me.
Can we see this?
Yes.
Were you wearing
I
a
have
corset?
both.
Okay.
I
Even
tell
if
you
it
what,
can't go
JR,
out, like, just,
JR,
you know,
are you on Facebook?
I am.
I'm
We are
going to
friends on
send you a-
Facebook.
Oh, we are?
Yes. Unless you purged me. Jeez.
I don't think I purged you.
Did you
I
survive the purge?
All right.
Anything about the word
For those of you who
emotionally
friend me
stupid?
on Facebook, if the algorithm does not show you to me, I will forget that we're friends.
Fair,
On
fair.
Facebook. Not that I know
So-
you in real life.
I see his
that
posts all the
said-
time. I still forget we're friends.
Oh my God. I will send you the videos. I will send you the video links for the pirates and for the masquerade so that you can not only see Miss Cisca dancing her wonderful dancingness on stage. And she is really good. It's so awesome. I want you to put it at the back. Oh, good. You messaged me. Yay, I can find you. I want you to put them on the back of this video so that your whole audience can see how amazing she is.
Outstanding. All right, so before we wrap this up, we're gonna do that, people. If we can get this in time, we're pre-recording this because we just released episode 185 because we're gonna do a string of anthologies because boys and girls, that I love me some short content. So I knew we would hit it soon. So we're pre-recording this. If we can get it in time, we'll do it. Otherwise, we promise you will see it as soon as we see it. But as we wrap this puppy up, Mira, what are you working on for costuming? Like, what's your current project?
I actually have your voters can vote on it in the comments. I have 2 weeks coming up where I will have nothing that I'm working on. So for those of you who don't know, I run a company called Prop House 42. Size does what?
Size does matter in stories, she said.
Okay, that's fine. Jeez, Cisca, you're killing me. Anyway, the hell is she type? What did she type?
It was your contact information scrolled across the bottom.
No, it wasn't. It was DC Page to Stage.
Okay. So I am actually Prop House 42 Productions. So we do costume sets and props for the entertainment industry. And as you know, right now, depending on when you're watching it, this is fall season, even though I'm wearing my Christmas sweater. We are barely towards the end of September. And so right now we're working on haunts. And so we've got some stuff at a couple of theme parks. We've got 7 different haunt contracts, including a haunted railroad. So I'm working on all of those right now. So if you're going someplace in Virginia or the Carolinas, it's a very good chance you may run something that Prop House 42 has done. And that's me and my husband and all of our wonderful employees. But in addition to that, Mara Rose, I have 2 weeks off in November, and I'm actually trying to decide which costume I'm going to make in those 2 weeks. And this will be a costume that I will take to Dragon Con next year because Cisca wants me to put something up and do a performance as a competitive cosplayer who's won awards internationally. We won't even go into the number because it intimidates people. She wants me to put a competition entry up on stage so people know what one looks like from an international winner, which I think is ridiculous, but whatever. So the 4 costumes that I'm asking people to choose from right now, you can vote on in the comments. Number 1 is, oh crap, do I remember? Hey Cisca, can you pull up Facebook?
Don't know.
Oh, shoot.
Maybe.
Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. How long will this take me to do?
I'm looking it up.
Okay.
Well, while she's doing that, Nick, what comic are you drawing for us right now?
I'm working on the Spawn Bengali pinup that will be sold at my next convention, wherever the hell that is, as I work on the Phantom Hawk and Tin Soldier crossover.
Wait, did you say you work on Spawn?
I draw Spawn from time to time, yes. Are you a fan, I take it?
My husband and I are huge fans.
Okay.
We actually did Spawn and Lady Spawn a few years ago as costumes.
Oh, awesome. I'll work something up and send it y'all's way.
That would be freaking epic. Can I remember my password? Oh my god.
No, don't put the pressure on me. That's going to be epic. I'm going to do my best.
No, you're fine. I'm just trying to remember my password.
You should do Spawn as a chicken.
Do not do Spawn as a chicken. No, that is blasphemy. I recognize anything else but not Spawn.
Spawn of the Cisca, and I'm going to give you Rob Liefeld-sized anatomy.
All right. So, Doc, are you working on anything? Are you ever going to finish that short story you started that we peer pressured you in all those years ago?
Well, that's your story. You got a protagonist. Goes through a series of adventures.
I have a protagonist and an
antagonist, and you guys have like a series of conflicts, yeah, and then
yes.
So I take that as you have not added new words.
Really load that slowly. Yes, I am rural.
So Cisca is not working on anything but recovering from Dragon. Okay, noted.
Dragon Con is an emotionally draining experience.
Dragon Con is exceptionally
and
emotional.
physically. and physically.
It's a little crazy.
It's like an endurance
Hold on.
trial. It's like soccer.
And then we went straight. This is literally the first day I've had since Dragon Con, and it's been most of the month. I've been home for 20 days, and this is the first day I actually had any serious time off. So, yeah.
You got 11 more days.
I added another scene with the character Chucky in it.
Okay. I am cleaning up 2 stories at the same time because I am on new meds for the brain damage, and I can actually think again, which is weird.
I'm
So
the only one that's not medicinally unchecked. I am.
Well, you get as many concussions as I have, and the doctors want to watch you to make sure like you don't go in dementia territory.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, no, I know.
But my blood work came back good, so I
am as well.
So I am no longer in the TBI induced dementia category for concern for another year. That means I have to eat healthy and be boring. So
all right. So here's what you got, guys. You ready? So option number 1, if you can see her, is Winifred from Hocus Pocus 2. This is a glorious costume with some really amazing embroidery on it, and I absolutely love the character because I'm just a huge fan of Hocus Pocus. Yes, I know the story is cheesy as crap, but when you are a parent of small children, cheesy as crap is what you go with.
We're excited for 2.
And so I'm looking forward to 2, which I think comes out tomorrow. The 30th. Yeah, so the next one is actually a passion project, and you're not going to be able to see this itty bitty tiny graphic. But if you're familiar with Igor Stravinsky's ballet, The Firebird, my mother was actually a ballerina for many years until she sustained some inner ear vertigo major issues and could no longer do lifts. And so I actually designed the Firebird as kind of a tribute to her and to what she did as a dancer. And I have actually made and scrapped this costume to 90% 3 times because I cannot get it to where I want it to be. So this is a multimedia build. So it would be thermoplastics, EVA foam. It's got an Arduino controller for mechanical wings that stretch up and turn into a pirouette silhouette for like a ballerina's silhouette. Embroidery out the yin yang. So
what do you hold on? If it's that personal to you, why are you even voting on it? You've just described the one you should be doing.
Well, I'm voting on it because of the fact that I very rarely ever get 2 solid weeks to work on something. And I know there are other costumes that people would like me to do. And so, I want that one to be done, but I'm still not entirely certain I can get it done in 2 weeks' time. So there's that one. Then there's this. This is Brea. Brea is actually a character from the Kellinor Chronicles, which is a series that my husband and I wrote together, which is a fantasy, mythic fantasy a la D&D, but not using D&D worlds because obviously there's trademark issues there. 8 characters, each with their own 3-book trilogy, hasn't been sold. If you're a publisher and you're looking for somebody that's already written 24 books, we've got them. But this is one of my favorite characters out of it. She's a dragonborn elf, sorceress / ranger, and
ranger.
Also a daughter of a very elder dragon deity who's exceptionally evil. But she's really cool, and I like her a lot. And then the last one is from Overwatch. It is the Harley Quinn variant for the Diva skin and mech.
All right, so you guys can vote in the comment section, but as far as how to reach everybody, so Mir has been on the episodes before, so you can track her contacts down. We'll link the page to stage costuming link for the sponsorship. We will link the application for authors that want to get involved. You can find us, dear listener, on Twitter at twitter.com/SF_fantasy_show, Sierra Foxtrot _fantasy_show. You can email us at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, where all the shenanigans happen, where we expect you to participate in the discussion, people. At facebook.com/groups/Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, /groups/Blasters and Blades Podcast. You can follow us on our website, which is still anchor.fm/Blasters and Blades. I promise we are working on the new one. Again, anchor.fm/Blasters and Blades, where you can support the show for as little as 99 cents a month Or you can support the show more directly at buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley, where be sure to put in the comment section that it's for the podcast. I promise I will keep my co-hosts, Doc Cisca and Nick Garber, duly intoxicated. They will drink until their liver surrenders.
So, thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. Thank you for keeping up with us for 2 years. If you're new, please go check out the other ones because trust me, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's a rather big tip, but still just the tip.
Ooh, that's what she said.
Just that tip.
So, on behalf of everybody here, Mira, JR, Nick, this was the Blasters and Blades podcast. Oh, look, she brought Kinnens out again.
200th episode.
And
Poor Mirror. And now I got to name another cat.
Thank
I
you
got to
very
name
much.
another cat.
On pizza is the best.